Like, why are you telling on the Mexicans, dude? I don't even know them. Why would you tell me about them? Why would you tell me half the shit you've told me? Why would you tell me that you killed my brother? I mean, like, that don't make no sense. I mean, if you're gonna kill my brother, why would you fucking tell me about it? Are you trying to get caught or something? I don't understand. Why are you telling on Mexican people that are not supposed to be in my country? I don't understand because these people threaten my life all the time, and I mean, like, I fucking think they need to go back to wherever they came from, but you do too. You need to go back to California or something. I mean, if I were you, I would be running back to California because you telling me about these snuff film producers. You guys told me about snuff film producers, where they're at, what they do. You told me that they did this to my brother. You tell on yourself and you tell on other people. And I do not understand you. You don't make any sense at all. You people are really fucking weird, man.
Once upon a time.
Nature gathering its forces for still another unending assault on man.
1-800 Embassy for
It sounds like it came right out of a zombie movie.
Computers are living in open basements. Go below and stay below ground level. Tornado warning.
April 9th, 2015, a tornado begins to in the small town of Franklin Grove, Illinois, quickly growing larger and larger by the minute, to the point of reaching an unprecedented size for the area. Miles away in the town of Fairdale, 67-year-old Geraldine Schultz spotted the vortex forming in the distance. Worried, she called her husband, who would stand there helplessly and watch. It was a direct hit, as the EF4 tornado tore through the house before Clem could even say a word, quickly turning the home that had once stood there for 100 years to dust and rubble. And buried beneath it all was Clem, along with his wife of 25 years.
They got fire rescue on the way.
Against all odds, Clem would somehow survive, pulling himself up from the field of debris. It was a storm that would go on to destroy numerous homes and take the lives of 2 people, one of whom was Clem's neighbor and good friend Jacqueline Closa, who lived in the house that Clem had filmed being destroyed just moments before it struck him, and the other being Geraldine, Clem's wife and best friend. Days following the disaster, a family member who had been searching the area for anything salvageable would stumble across Clem's phone, which miraculously was still working, and on it would be the now infamous video that showed the point of view of a man being struck route for drops up to 6.5 feet. These cases come in a ton of unique designs for whatever style you're into, and you can even customize them with your name or a monogram. It's a great blend of protection and personality, and it's actually protective in more ways than one, as these cases have an antimicrobial coating, which kills 99% of bacteria. And best of all, they're more sustainable than most cases on the market, as they're made out of 50% recycled materials. So if you're interested in trying out Casetify for yourself, then head over to casetify.com/Nick Crowley, and you'll receive 50 case.
A new high-tech way to find out who's at the door.
With a video doorbell, you'll never miss a visitor.
The use of doorbell cameras, mainly because of kidnappers, due to their knack for capturing disturbing encounters. These that have emerged from these devices have practically carved out their own genre here on YouTube, to the point that many, including myself, have almost become desensitized to them. But recently, a video began making the rounds showing the events that transpired at a Las Vegas home on the evening of July 21st, 2021, and it proved to be one of the most chilling I have ever seen. It happened around 8 p.m., where a young lady had been working in her kitchen, waiting for her husband to return home from work. It was another 100-degree day in Vegas, and likely in an attempt to cool down, she would open her window to let the evening breeze in. Unbeknownst to her, this harmless decision would lead to a terrifying series of events. Outside of the home, a man had been wandering the suburban streets aimlessly, roaming throughout the neighborhood before stopping in his tracks. In front of him was the open window and a clear view of the woman inside. It was a chance sighting that would lead to the man approaching the house and ringing the doorbell, where the camera would begin to record.
Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? What? Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure?
The man stands there ringing the doorbell and knocking at the door, repeating the same sentences over and over again, calmly stating that he just wants to ask a few questions. However, the woman inside had never met this man. In fact, she had never seen him before this moment. And to make it all stranger, she didn't respond to anything the man was saying, and was out of his line of view as he peeked through the door. So the phrases that he was saying were not in response to anyone, and instead, he was speaking to himself. Fearing for her safety, the woman inside didn't open the door or engage him at all, leading the man to take things a step further.
Are you positive? I just have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you positive? Are you sure? Are you absolutely certain?
He begins trying to open the door, but thankfully it was locked, causing the strange man to start walking away, cursing under his breath. The footage is incredibly off-putting, and although the man seems to stay perfectly calm, there was something very aggressive and erratic about the way he was speaking, making one wonder what his true intentions were when he approached the house. As the man begins to walk away, the woman's husband, still at work, would chime in through the doorbell after noticing the situation begin to unfold, which in turn would lead to the man revealing why he was ringing the doorbell.
How are you? What? Yeah? Are you sure? Who are you? Hey, I just had a couple questions. I just wanted to ask you about the baby tool. Yeah, can you hear me? What I'm looking for is the girl that's in the house to come out here because I'm going to her and you have her open the door. You're raping the girl that's on the other side of this door when she lets me in.
It was no secret what he had planned for that evening. He outright says it, even revealing that he had the weapons to make it happen.
I want to rip her. I have a knife. A gun. And I'm going to knock on the door again.
If that woman had opened the door, or if that door had been unlocked, well, we know what would have happened. But thankfully, neither of those situations played out, and instead, the man walked away muttering the same phrases over and over again.
Yeah. What?
He'd been staring at the house for a few moments before finally disappearing into the night. Police were called to the area moments later, but the man was nowhere to be found. As quickly as he had entered this couple's life, he was now gone, leaving them with the reality that at any moment he could return. Scared for her life, the lady posted the clip online, where it would quickly go viral across YouTube, which honestly may have ended up saving a life. The following day, a viewer of the video would recognize the same man walking in another residential area, in one that was not too far away from the house where the encounter took place. And after the police were called, the man would be quickly arrested before he could play out his disturbing fantasy. When confronted and asked for his name, the man would simply state that he was the Holy Spirit, and said nothing more, though his real name was revealed to be Christopher Sums, a man who had passed charges of stealing, assaulting, and intimidating a witness, with his mugshot being nothing short of completely haunting. But what I found most surprising was the fact that he didn't always look like this. In fact, just a few years ago, he looked completely normal, and according to his LinkedIn, he had a fairly impressive work history and what seemed to be a good life, until for whatever reason, things spiraled in the wrong direction. As it stands, Christopher is being evaluated to see if he is mentally fit to stand trial, something that for 27-year-old Tebebe Mukanin would be his primary motivation for posting his first and only video on March 17, 2018. Tebebe had struggled his whole life with mental illness, suffering from both schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. These mental illnesses led to an event in 2013 where he would wander off from his home unprovoked. Outside, he began to walk for miles, essentially in a daze, before finding himself in what he described as a very dangerous part of town. Thankfully, Tebebe would be safely found before anything had happened to him, but the incident would prove to be life-changing, as it would lead to his hospitalization due to his unpredictable and dangerous behavior. This would also start a long spell of being given heavy medication to help with his schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Over the course of the next 4
Hello, this is Tebebe Mukanin. I'm talking and putting this video because I wanted to bring awareness to a situation that I'm dealing with that's very painful. I was hospitalized June 25th, 2013. I went there to supposedly get an IV. I ended up being forced to take medication, and it was pure hell. They gave me Haldol, Risperidol, and they were forcing antipsychotics down my throat. It was absolute torture and hell.
In the 10-minute video, Tebebe made it clear that he was not consenting to this medical treatment, and he explained how the medication he was forced to take made him feel like a zombie, even saying that it had gotten so bad that he had thoughts of taking his own life.
It was bad. It was really bad, and I had suicidal ideation.
Throughout the clip, Tebebe comes across as intelligent and well-spoken, but traces of his illness shine through periodically. For instance, he explains how immediately after being released from the hospital on multiple occasions, he would wander away from his home, even attempting to be homeless for a while admitting that he didn't know why this was an issue, or why it would always lead to him going back to the hospital.
I got off, and I think I had another episode, as they like to say, where I said I wanted to be homeless. That's it. All I said was I wanted to be homeless. So, and I proceeded to be homeless. And next thing I know, the cops came and they arrested me and they took me back to the hospital. Then after that, I left and I tried to be homeless again, and I was hospitalized again.
But things would be further escalated as Tebebe casually explains how he has violent outbursts, even resorting to punching multiple people who were trying to give him medication, as well as starving himself in retaliation.
So I started getting violent, and I started punching people, and I started attacking people in the hospital, and they had to tie me down. I began to lash out like, I'm going to protest this. I'm going to starve myself as a way of hopefully stopping this ridiculous forced treatment for absolutely nothing.
And by the end of the video, Tebebe flat out explains that he does not have any sort of mental illness, or have any symptoms for that matter, calling what was happening to him an injustice.
I guess I'm just trying to let you guys know the injustice that goes on.
It's a truly depressing situation, as on one hand he is being forced to take medication that essentially makes him feel dead inside, while on the other hand, it seems very apparent that treatment is necessary to not only keep others around him, but himself safe, as he doesn't seem fully aware of how serious some of his actions are. Tebebe concluded the video by asking those watching what they thought of his situation, and though it didn't garner many views, a select few would stumble upon it and agree with his stance that the treatment he was receiving was unlawful, with many insinuating that he should continue to protest and not take his medication. These comments are unfortunately no longer available, as just a few weeks ago the video was removed, but they had been reflected across multiple sites as people called out the commenters for essentially trying to convince someone to go off his medication cold turkey, and doing so without knowing the true extent of his medical history, which obviously is irresponsible and potentially very dangerous. But unfortunately, these conflicting viewpoints came years later, and in that time surrounding the video's release, Tebebe had likely found the verification he was looking for. He was going to keep protesting his medication. This video would be the first and last that we would ever hear from Tebebe, but it wouldn't be the last we'd hear of him. Just 2 months following the video, Tebebe would make the local news after having an encounter at the hospital. There, a therapist entered his room to talk with him, when suddenly Tebebe snapped, grabbing her and refusing to let go, while performing lewd gestures toward her and eventually pinning her on the ground, refusing to let her go. The situation led to Tebebe being arrested for sexual battery and stopped taking his medication. It's not hard to theorize who had been caring for him around the clock. He had been moved there from the hospital as part of his treatment plan, as it kept him close by and easy to monitor regularly, but it also made him free of being cooped up in a hospital room, which clearly he didn't enjoy. The change of scenery was likely supposed to calm Tebebe and his growing anger issues, but unfortunately, his violent outbursts did not stop there. On August 20th at 1:30 a.m., Tebebe would get into an altercation with his mother in their hotel room. It's not clear what had started the arguments, but things would quickly turn physical, as Tebebe started to shove his mother, pushing her so hard that it would knock her out of the room, and then onto their balcony. Their room was on one of the top floors of the hotel, and it overlooked the lobby down below, and in one more violent outburst, Tebebe would give one final push, this time knocking her all the way over the railing, causing her to plummet to the ground below. She did not survive the impact. Tebebe Makanin was arrested at the scene and held at a holding center where he remains to this day awaiting his trial, though his crime is used as the likely reason for his behavior that day, something that was telegraphed.
True miracle hair thing right out of a zombie movie.
Our next video takes us across the world to the Philippines in mid-July 2014. The story begins on a tragic note as a family says their goodbyes to their 3-year-old daughter. In the days prior, the young girl had developed a severe fever, and without access to an up-to-date medical facility, found to celebrate the short life of a child who deserved so much more. When he went to do so, inside the coffin, the young girl's head watched as she was placed into the ground, which would be her final resting place. But before that would happen, one of the neighbors had been in charge of arranging the young girl's body before burial. Though something strange happened when he went to do so. Inside the coffin, the young girl's head began to move. It was a slight twitch, but in a panic, the neighbor checked for a pulse only to discover that her heart was still beating, and the young girl was breathing. One of the family members begins to record as the sudden wave of realization hits that the child was actually alive. It's a clip that I'm sure many of you have seen by now, as the original video itself has garnered over having been confirmed by Philippine officials who admitted that a mistake had been made in that particular hospital, which led to the mix-up and almost to the mistaken burial. But the story doesn't have the happy ending that many of us thought, as in reality, that child never actually woke up. She did have a pulse and shallow breathing, but she would never regain consciousness and remained in a comatose state. In fact, just 2 days after this video was taken, and on the 15th of July, she would once again be pronounced dead, this time for real. But looking back on the viral and once again pronounced dead on the 15th, just 2 days later, yet this video was published a full month later, on August 13th, 2014. So when this video went live, that little girl was long gone, and this is something that they likely knew, as it had been well reported in other major news outlets on the day of her actual passing. I mean, nowadays, even the top Google result for this incident mentions her passing, and it came out on the very day it happened. So when this video went live, they had to have known it wasn't true. What started on its own as one of the darkest videos on the site has now become even more twisted as the true ending has been revealed. A miracle that turned out to be nothing more than a mirage, leading to even more heartbreak as the family was now forced to grieve and come to terms with this girl's passing twice. And it's made even worse by the news report that has essentially rewritten the story's ending. But looking at just the video and the story as is, of how everything unfolded, it's still truly horrifying that this little girl was almost buried alive, whether she was conscious or not. And it makes me wonder how many others have been in that dreadful situation, as many are left in a state of confusion and distress at such a tumultuous time in their life. And for a young man named Daniel Bartlam, his childhood was sadly no different. Growing up in Nottinghamshire, England, Daniel's parents, Jackie and Adrian, would separate following the birth of Daniel's younger brother, with the situation leading to a split in the family, as the young boys would move to a new home with their mother. This brought Daniel to an unfamiliar town, as well as a brand new school, and to top it all off, Daniel's mother would soon find a new partner, further adding to the confusion that Daniel must have been feeling. All of these circumstances would lead Daniel to a declining mental state as he began to isolate himself in his room, barely speaking to his family. Daniel's mother, Jackie, was well aware of the change in his behavior, and she soon thought of the perfect way to bring him out of this depression. So she saved up some money on the side until she eventually had enough to buy Daniel his very own iMac, a computer that he had been asking for years. At the time, Daniel had a vested interest in technology, even having his own YouTube channel dedicated to the topic. But this new computer meant an upgrade in quality and a future with limitless possibilities. Overjoyed, Daniel quickly began a new channel and dedicated his very first upload to his new device.
Hello YouTube, this is Daniel EB1702 here, and it's finally happened. I now have an iMac, and I can now make bigger and better videos.
The video is clearly nothing too special, as the quality is about what you would expect from a kid his age who was just starting out. And the following videos were much the same, with these uploads simply being compilations from a show he liked. It all may not have seemed like much, but this computer, along with this new channel, seemed to be the spark that he so badly needed, a new passion and a new outlook on life. But strangely, after just a few uploads, the account would go silent. This is something that happens all the time on YouTube, where a creator starts posting with high aspirations before it's typically due to a lack of success or just the overall busyness of life. But in Daniel's case, his reason for leaving was far darker, as right around the time of his last upload, he would experience the ultimate tragedy.
So smart. Yes, you are.
On the morning of April 25th, 2011, neighbors of Daniel had reported hearing a commotion coming from his home. That commotion would soon turn to chaos as the house suddenly erupted into flames, with smoke billowing out all sides. Through the commotion, Daniel would emerge from the home with his little brother and dog in hand. His mother was nowhere to be found. Police and fire units arrived at the scene quickly,
Such a good
but
boy.
were already too late,
I love you.
as inside the home they would find the badly burned and disfigured body of Jackie. and surprisingly, they'd soon noticed that it wasn't the fire that had done her in. Rather, she had been brutally murdered with what appeared to be a hammer. The scene was shocking and incredibly chaotic, but luckily Daniel had been there to explain everything. According to the child, a masked burglar had entered the home before confronting his mother. The confrontation then led to the anonymous person attacking Jackie with a hammer, causing her to collapse to the floor. He then says the intruder lit her body on fire, leading Daniel to grab his brother and dog and escape from the blaze, saving what remained of his family as the murderer escaped out the back. Daniel's story stood out for several reasons, mainly because it showed Daniel was a hero for saving his brother and dog, and it showed just how traumatic that morning must have been for him, as in the matter of one day, Daniel had lost his home and his mother in probably the most devastating way imaginable. But his story also stood out for one other reason, with that reason being in regards to the killer. As police began their investigation, they searched and searched for any clues left behind from this supposed masked intruder, but they found nothing. No fingerprints, no footprints, no anything. And looking for any semblance of a lead, they started to search through Daniel's room, where through the charred remains, they miraculously found his computer in perfect working order. Authorities would search the child's device when they stumbled upon something rather bizarre. It was a story that Daniel had typed months before in a Word document. It was set as the scene of a soap opera that he had been writing. The story read, Daniel Bartlam, 1997 to 2047, the longest-serving male character to be on the show. The only place he couldn't get away with his deeds was with his mother, Jackie. So one evening, he made it look as though it was a break-in, and murdered his mother with a hammer, and then set her and the family home alight, but helped his brother out to safety, and got his neighbors to contact the police. The story ends with Daniel lying to the police and getting away with murder. It was a shocking revelation, as his mother had been killed with a hammer and set on fire, through what Daniel had described as a break-in, just as his story was written. And to make it all stranger, further investigation would reveal that in the days prior to Jackie's death, Daniel had attempted to delete the document, though he had failed to fully remove it. And the findings went deeper, as countless screenshots and clips of a character from a show called Coronation Street were found on the hard drive, with it appearing as though Daniel had an obsession with this character, which proved to be rather interesting, as the character, John Stabe, was a villain who had murdered another villain with a claw hammer, the same weapon used on his mother. Investigators would keep digging until they eventually found the nail in the coffin, as it was revealed that in the days prior to the attack, Daniel had searched how to get away with murder. With the slew of information and the lack of evidence that a break-in had ever occurred, Daniel's story quickly fell apart, until he eventually admitted the gruesome truth that he had been the one who had taken his mother's life. On the 24th of April, Daniel would spend the night in his room rewatching one of his favorite Saw movies. He then emerged from the room carrying a claw hammer and approached his sleeping mother. He proceeded to strike her 7 times in the face before eventually setting her body on fire and escaping the home with his brother and dog, acting as the hero who had quote-unquote saved the day, when in reality it was all his doing. And the entire series of events had been plotted out on the very computer that his mother gave him, the same computer that he had so excitedly made this video on just months before the attack.
Did you go hide your treat over there?
To this day, we don't really know why Daniel chose to attack his mother, as any reason he's given has been fairly easily disproven, with many chalking it up to his tumultuous childhood. Though we have learned more information about his early years, with many of these stories proving to be incredibly disturbing and hinting at the idea that Daniel was mentally unwell. For instance, we said that he had an obsession with gruesome movies and games that seemed to inspire his own violent thoughts. As he began watching these graphic films at the age of 8, he took these films as inspiration to start writing his own stories, which almost always ended in death and murder, and the details of which were said to be incredibly intense. And in a much darker example, about 6 weeks before the murder, during a normal day at school, Daniel began desperately yanking at his tie, insisting that it was trying to strangle him. When further asked about this, he then revealed that he was hearing voices, and those voices were telling him to hurt people. But surprisingly, after being given a psychiatric evaluation, the counselor told his mother that there was nothing wrong with Daniel. But to be on the safe side, they did offer counseling that Jackie would quickly deny, a decision that, for her, may have ultimately proven fatal. Whatever made Daniel snap that day, it was seemingly a long time coming, and despite his young age, he would be sentenced to life in prison, with a chance for parole coming in the distant future. But the truly tragic note here is about his mother, Jackie, as she bought her son that iMac that he so clearly loved, and she did so in the hopes that it would bring some much-needed happiness during such a tough time in his life. How could she have known that, in reality, Daniel would turn around and use that very computer to plan and eventually carry out her very own murder? I want to give a huge thank you to my gold tier and god tier patrons: Allie Farmer, Barry Winstanley, Bazoo42, Biznacker, Brandon Flores, Karen S., Donovan Aaron, Emily Gray, Game Gamer, Jay Money, Just Dally, Catherine Ross, Lacey, Mark PH, Nathan Backus, Non-Luke Music, Quinn Kiwi, Robert Herbito, Sam Lutfi, Skelly, Sub to Micro O, The Deck of Cards, Unblended Korchnoi, Sinsu Sensei, Lori Tiaba, and Trucky Doggo.
When the only thing I could do for myself is get
Throughout my time here on YouTube, I've spent countless hours searching for dark, obscure content from all across the web. And out of all my morbid findings, only about 1% of them have actually been turned into videos. This happens for a few reasons. Like some of the material being just too disturbing or too graphic to talk about. But mainly it's because a lot of these topics I found don't really warrant a full video, at least not on my channel. So rather than just holding on to these topics forever, I decided to start a new series
that I've had to say
and
on
share
the
with you all the chilling internet content that I've compiled throughout the years, and will continue to compile for years to come. So join me in this new venture as we dive into the internet's darkest corners.
anything real.
Before we dive into this, I have to give a huge shout out to our amazing sponsor, Shudder. Shudder is the ultimate streaming service for all fans of horror, which chances are, if you're watching this video, that includes you. Shudder is essentially Netflix for scary movies, as it has the fastest growing selection of thrilling and dangerous entertainment. Shudder's expertly curated collection includes must-see titles like Vicious Fun, The Mortuary Collection, and PG Psycho Gorman, plus all of the best horror documentaries and the hit Creepshow TV series from executive producer Greg Montero. As part of Shudder's annual 61 Days of Halloween, they have actually released the latest installment in the VHS franchise, VHS 94, which is by far one of my all-time favorites. It's seriously so good, I highly recommend checking it out. Now you can do so for free for the next 30 days by going to Shudder.com and using my promo code Crowley. That's SHUDDER.com and the promo code Crowley to start watching for free today. It's been over 15 years since the premiere of the now hit show America's Got Talent, a competition program centered around finding the top entertainers in the country. But despite the show's huge popularity, I was surprised that I hadn't heard about its upcoming spin-off, which was set to air fairly soon. The show is called AGT Extreme, which focuses solely on daredevil acts, a premise that has subsequently caused a bit of a stir online, as having a competition focused on extreme stunts means that people will take things further and further to win, which would lead to their performances getting riskier and riskier over time, pushing the envelope and heightening the danger. With this in mind, many critics have called out the show for how dangerous it could become. And as it turns out, even before the first episode has made it to air, these critics may have already been proven right. On the 15th of October 2021, TMZ would publish an article outlining an incident that had recently happened on the set of the show. The accident supposedly involved 41-year-old Jonathan Goodwin, a man who had performed on AGT before, where he attempted other life-threatening challenges, all of which had gone off without a hitch. But this time was different. The article wrote, Jonathan Goodwin, a daredevil stuntman on the new America's Got Talent Extreme, suffered brutal injuries after a stunt he attempted went horribly wrong, and it was so bad, people on set thought he was dead. The article would then go on to explain the stunt that Jonathan had attempted to perform and how exactly it all went wrong. Goodwin was suspended 70 feet in the air in a straitjacket, hanging by his feet from a wire. 2 cars were suspended on either side of him, swinging back and forth. The stunt was for Goodwin to free himself from the restraints, and then fall on an air mattress and avoid getting crushed by the cars as they swung in the air. Then something went horribly wrong, and the cars smashed together, sandwiching Goodwin in between them. The impact caused the cars to explode, erupting in a gigantic fireball. Goodwin fell to the ground and hit his head. The article then mentions that Jonathan's exact conditions weren't known, but that his injuries had been incredibly severe, having to be airlifted to a nearby trauma unit. The scene described sounded absolutely crazy, as the stunt Goodwin had performed sounded unlike anything I've ever seen before. And following the release of this story, curious readers wanted to know more, as they wondered whether the ordeal was filmed, and if that footage would ever get released. But according to the article, this had happened on the day of rehearsal, meaning that there was no live studio audience, and the cameras potentially weren't even rolling. And even if the show had been filming, it seemed highly unlikely that they would ever choose to release this footage. However, as it turns out, during the whole event, another camera had actually been recording on set that day, which just so happened to capture the entire thing. It's unclear who was behind the camera, though many believe that it was likely a staff member who had pulled out their phone to film the act. And somewhat unsurprisingly, just days after the initial report, this very video would emerge, quickly spreading to practically every social media site across the internet. The cars are then seen colliding together with extreme force, as Goodwin is pinned between them. At that exact moment, the pyrotechnics in both vehicles go off, causing a massive explosion. Jonathan would then collapse 40 feet to the ground below, falling headfirst. The video is horrifying, and it's easy to understand why people on set thought Goodwin had perished, as every time I watched the clip, I couldn't imagine how anyone could survive such a devastating incident. But shockingly, Goodwin would actually regain consciousness that very day, and despite suffering serious injuries like 2 broken legs and burns throughout his body, he doesn't appear to be in critical condition anymore, as he's even taken to his Instagram page to let his fans know that he's going to be okay. And though his road to a full recovery is clearly going to be difficult, it's still amazing to see him alive and in such good spirits. Following the news breaking on this story and the video finding its way around the internet, America's Got Talent has halted production on the show, and it's currently unclear where they will go from here. Though if they do decide to carry on with its production, I personally find it likely that this won't be the last time we see an accident like this. Our next story takes us to an obscure Reddit post made back in September of 2020. The story was told on the Legal Advice subreddit, as the original poster, or OP, was seeking help on a situation transpiring with their neighbor. OP described the situation as follows. I live in a duplex with my husband and my son, who is only a few months old. My father-in-law owns half of the duplex and is renting to us, and the other half is owned by an older woman and her adult daughter. My father-in-law has known the woman for over 15 years and told us before we moved in that the daughter was mentally ill and had strong delusions on occasion that caused trouble with the previous tenants. The last tenants apparently had to get a civil anti-harassment order placed against the daughter, but eventually moved out when the behaviors never stopped. Apparently, the neighbor accused them of kidnapping and abusing their children, as well as abusing their dogs. My husband and I brought our son home a few months ago, and we didn't have any issues with the neighbor until about 2 weeks ago. She has begun banging on and throwing things at the walls when our son cries. She screams at us as well, but I usually can't hear what she's actually saying, over the screaming baby, and the 2 dogs going absolutely ballistic because of the banging. It's absolute chaos, and it made my postpartum anxiety so much worse. Every time the baby cries, I experience intense panic, waiting for the screaming and the banging to start. We have called the non-emergency police line twice when I can't handle it anymore and I feel close to a meltdown. And the first time they talked to her and she stopped doing it as often, maybe once every 2 days. Tonight she is back and it is worse than ever. The air quality is so bad right now from the fires that I can't let the dogs out for long to stop them from barking. The barking makes the baby cry harder, which makes the neighbors scream and pound on the walls harder. The officer I spoke with says that we can try to get a civil anti-harassment order placed, but he knew for a fact that her behaviors never stopped after the last tenants had tried that. And he says his unofficial advice would be to live somewhere else. Is that seriously my only option? We can't afford to move, but I can't keep living like this. The post was met with minimal engagement, as many glossed over the story, not thinking much of it, and those who did respond seemed to have a mixed reaction. Some actually sympathized with their neighbor, as sharing a wall with a screaming baby would obviously not be a fun situation, and especially for someone with a mental illness who seems to react negatively to loud stimuli. While others found the neighbor's response to be fairly worrisome, as it was clear that the behavior had been escalating. But whichever side these commenters took, they all seemed to be in agreement on one thing, that there wasn't much OP could do, other than simply move out. And with that, the post quickly faded into obscurity with no resolution to be found, quickly being lost in the endless content of Reddit. But surprisingly, the story wouldn't end there. In fact, nearly 7 months later, an update would be made, thrusting what was once an unknown story into the limelight. OP's post read, "Update. Neighbor bangs on shared duplex wall when baby cries." My first post never got much attention, but the outcome was pretty wild. In October of 2020, my husband and I were renting a duplex where my father-in-law owned the half we lived in. We brought our son home from the NICU in August, and towards the end of September, the neighbor, 40-year-old female, started to pound on the shared wall if she could hear him cry. The pounding escalated over the next 2 months. The neighbor bought a megaphone to yell through the wall and threatened to rip us apart. She called us child predators, and she'd yell obscenities and threats until 3 or 4 in the morning. The police were called multiple times, but they responded that nothing could be done about it. One officer said, "I'm going to kill you. See, it doesn't mean anything if I don't actually do it." The elderly mother hadn't been seen in several months, but requests for wellness checks were brushed off. The general advice I got was that as renters we couldn't do anything. It was also suggested that this was reasonable behavior, since the baby crying was probably really annoying. Since my first post, we moved in with my grandmother for our safety. The neighbor ended up busting a softball-sized hole through the shared wall to scream at us, and occasionally just stare at us. The smell that came from that hole was indescribably bad. Our security cameras recorded her coming to my son's nursery window at around 2 a.m., almost daily, just staring and holding her cat. It took until the end of January for police to finally be able to enter her property. The elderly mother had been deceased since at least June, and the daughter had the corpse dressed in her Sunday best, rotting in a deadbolted bedroom. The news article said that the mother died from natural causes. The daughter was taken to an inpatient psychiatric facility. The update came entirely out of left field, yet this lady's timeline made perfect sense, as the daughter's behavior likely escalated not just because of the new child, but also because of the loss of her mother. And without her mother to care for her and keep her in check, it allowed her actions to go way off the deep end, as by the end, she had clearly become completely delusional. However, this is Reddit, and with Reddit comes a slew of fake stories designed to go viral, which alone caused many to instantly write this whole situation off as a hoax. But digging deeper, this doesn't actually seem to be the case, as some would find news articles outlining a virtually identical situation. On the evening of January 29th, a welfare check was conducted at the home of 65-year-old Cynthia Newman. The lady had not been seen in months, and it wouldn't take long for police to figure out why. One article wrote, "The body of Cynthia Newman, 65, was found in a reclining chair with a pillow under her head and body. She was covered in blankets in an attempt to cover the body from sight. Newman's body was covered with insects and showed significant signs of decay, including exposed bone and places where skin was starting to peel off. It also appeared that animals living in the house had started to gnaw at the corpse. Also within the home was Cynthia's daughter, 41-year-old Jacqueline Bebout, who had been living with the corpse for over 7 months, never reporting it to authorities as she, quote, didn't want to be alone. According to the articles written on this, Cynthia had died due to natural causes, though her daughter would still wind up being arrested on charges of failing to report human remains, with her sentence leaving her in a mental health facility. But hearing this story side by side with these two threads, well, it all adds up, right down to the month that she claimed it happened. It became without a shadow of a doubt that this was in fact real. And as I read these posts once more, it becomes clear that the strong stench that she was smelling was the smell of a decaying body. And with this context, what started as just an obscure, forgotten post on Reddit has now shifted into one of its more twisted threads.
When someone dies, it means they're not alive.
Reddit is home to a lot of disturbing content, and it's here that we find another thread, with this one requiring no context for its darkness to be understood. The post was made to Ask Reddit, where a user asks, Redditors who know how much time they have left, how does your day look like? The post proceeded to go viral almost instantly, as hundreds of people flocked to tell their stories, with all of the top results coming from those who actually suffered from some type of terminal illness. One user wrote, ALS, rapidly progressing. Every day I get worse. Couldn't get my shirt on today. Not really enough strength and energy to eat, though I am being yelled at for losing weight. No pain, for which I am thankful, but unable to do most things we take for granted. I have T-Rex arms now. Probably won't be able to walk or stand in the next few weeks. I am working hard to get the prescription for death with dignity. This is not how I want to live. I think I'll be lucky to make it to Christmas, more like early November at this rate. I don't want to live like this anymore. Another says, my days are a mixed bag. Some days I don't want to get out of bed, and when I do, I can't seem to find the energy to leave the house. I have tumors all over my spine, so when things go really bad for me, my legs will probably be the first to go. This is my time, and it took me a lot of dying before I could take a deep breath and let go of the stress of living. Sometimes the best thing you can do is crack a beer and watch some TV and not feel guilty about it. It's easy to feel like you absolutely need to make each day count, but if I'm happy, I'm happy. The examples go on from there, as so many users have come together to share their experiences, and it's interesting to see how all of their answers differ. With some, they preach positivity, and somehow through it all they have found their inner peace, while others, well, are clearly struggling to come to terms with what will soon happen to them, with most feeling guilty for what they have put their families through, and what their families will soon go through once they're gone. It's all just horribly depressing, and unfortunately, it's far worse than I described. As I've left out one devastating note, with that being that this thread is actually over 5 years old, and those accounts that had shared their stories, both good and bad, have now fallen silent, leaving the accounts responsible for practically all of the top stories in this thread abandoned, with no updates in years. This thread is no longer a group of people sharing what their last days will look like. It's showing what their last days did look like, as it appears that the vast majority of them are no longer with us, succumbing to the fate that they knew was around the corner, leaving this as, in my opinion, one of the most painful threads I've ever scrolled through.
Wait till you see New York from our point of view. Spend the sunset on top of the world.
It's rare to see so many people know how their future is going to turn out and the fate that lies ahead. But most of the time, the future turns out to be far more surprising than you can ever imagine, which leads us to a website called airliners.net, where 21 years ago, a group of users began a discussion centered around an impossible situation. But for just a brief moment in time, They pondered it, with the subject line reading, "If a 707 hit the World Trade Center." A user named MD90 starts the discussion by saying, "When the two towers that made up the World Trade Center were built, they were designed to withstand the impact of the largest airliner of the day, the Boeing 707 Intercontinental. The Empire State Building survived a B-25 medium bomber crashing into it on a very foggy day. It was during the weekend when most people weren't there, but still, 14 people died. Anyone want to bet that the World Trade Center could survive the 767 impact?" This post was met with the response, "Let's not try that, okay? One terror attempt was enough." From there, others chime in, with one adamantly saying, "My bet is no way. Just imagine a fully loaded airliner the size of a 707 slamming into any building. Think about it." And the discussion carried on from there. One person wrote a rather lengthy, well-thought-out response saying, "If a 707 or a 757 slammed into the World Trade Center, it might be much more damaging than the case of the B-25 bomber that crashed into the Empire State Building. It is very doubtful any passengers or crew would have survived such a grim scenario. Also, there are probably more people per floor in the World Trade Center compared to the Empire State Building, so casualties in the building will likely be much higher." Another user responds by saying, "The structure itself would survive, as the buildings are surrounded by other buildings, and thus only a hit could take place high up on the structure, meaning not at or really near ground level. If it could somehow penetrate and hit the base, that would take it out completely, but a hit 500 or 600 feet up most likely wouldn't take out the whole thing." Within this thread was even an employee who had been working at the World Trade Center at the time, who chimed in stating, "I am working in downtown New York at the World Trade Center, and when someone is in the observation deck of the World Trade Center, you see planes approaching the LaGuardia Airport, not far away from the building. Sometimes you think that the plane is coming to hit the building. And I always think, what if a pilot crashes a plane on us?" The conversation eventually leads to someone saying, "The scenario is really hellish. I think the flight disaster record, Tenerife, 1977, 582 dead, might get reset by a lot. You would easily have 1,500 or more, since you would have 200 in the plane, at least 500 in the building, and a real shitload on the ground. If the building managed to fall, there might be 5,000 or 6,000 dead. Oh well, that's why they put AC lights on the buildings." This was the final message written in that thread. A thread based around an impossible situation, a situation that could only live in one's imagination, or at least at the time it was. Not even 1 year following this thread, 2 Boeing 67 planes would crash into the World Trade Center, forever changing the course of world history. The same planes that user MD90 had referred to when saying, "Anyone want to bet that the World Trade Center could survive a 767 impact?" And as it turns out, it couldn't.
And that's the history of the camera.
Yay!
As part of my channel, I have a tendency to focus in on disturbing videos and channels. But recently, I've fallen down the rabbit hole of another form of media, photographs, and specifically final photographs, the last pictures taken in a person's life. And across the web, there are millions of examples of this, with an endless supply waiting in the future, as at some point, everyone will have their final picture taken, including you and I, whether we know it at the time or not. Many of the examples we can find today are heartbreaking or even inconspicuous, while others, well, are much more disturbing. On April 18th, 2021, a torrential rainstorm began to wreak havoc in Houston, Texas, along with many surrounding areas. The rain fell in excess of 24 inches within just a single day, flooding the streets and many of the waterways nearby, leading to roads being completely covered with feet of rushing water. And unfortunately for a 21-year-old Darren Mitchell, he would be caught directly in its crossfire. After attempting to make his way home on Highway 105, the floodwaters quickly overtook the road around him, to the point that it was impossible for the car to move any longer, leaving Darren stranded in his vehicle at the mercy of the raging water that was rising quickly. And given the conditions of that road in particular, Well, he knew rescue would likely be a long ways away. Before Darren knew it, the water had made it all the way up to the top of his car as it slowly began trickling in through the crevices. Growing increasingly helpless, Darren decided to call up his family just to tell him that he loved them, while also mentioning that he had managed to make it out of his car and that he believed he was going to be safe. Though sadly, this wasn't actually the case, as just minutes later, he would use his phone to snap this picture. He would then post the shot to Facebook with the caption, "And all I wanted to do was go home." Moments later, worried onlookers would witness Darren's truck begin to roll before flipping over completely and disappearing into the raging water. Darren's body would be recovered days later, leaving him as one of the 5 victims to fall to this deadly flood. Another chilling final photograph comes from an ex-couple who had been partaking on a hiking trip in the Alabama countryside. 18-year-old Jolie Killin and her boyfriend Lauren Bunner had been separated for some time, but the two decided to head out on one last hike as a chance for them to come to terms with the end of their relationship and hopefully start a new and civil friendship. By this time, Jolie had moved on with someone new and was all set to start college, but she wanted to remove any ill feelings with Lauren as she began this new chapter in her life. Together, the pair traveled up the mountains in Chia State Park, where Bunner would chronicle the entire day on his Instagram page. He posted photos of Jolie walking her dog, as well as just taking in the gorgeous scenery around them, with this shot proving to be incredibly stunning, as it shows just how vast the woods were that surrounded them. Bunner would snap this picture before quickly posting it to Instagram as a way to cherish this memory, his last memory with Jolie. Just moments after taking the picture, Bunner would put his phone down and pull out a handgun that he had concealed in his pocket, and then fire one shot to the back of Jolie's head, before flipping her around and shooting her once more to seal the deal. He then dragged her body to the edge of the cliff, and she was seen here looking over before pushing her off. Bunner was arrested that day after turning himself in, as it was clearly an attack done out of jealous rage, as he took exception to the fact that Jolie was moving on with his life, leaving him in the past. And it's likely that in this very moment, Jolie had no idea of the fate she was about to meet, and the plans that Lauren had for her. But of all the final photographs that I found recently, there's one that I find especially chilling, as it just leaves so much to the imagination. On June 6, 2020, a group of friends had gathered at Arent County Park to celebrate 46-year-old Biba Henry's birthday. As night started to fall and the party had begun to die down, Biba and her sister, Nicole Smallman, decided to stick around the park and continue the celebration, partying into the early morning hours. The two played music, danced, and waved around fairy lights, enjoying the day as if it was their last. And wanting to document the festivities, the ladies would set up one of their phones and begin photographing themselves. The phone was connected to a clicker that the girls would use to snap over 100 pictures, documenting their night in this dark wooded area. The pictures were a little grainy, and many of which were hard to make out, but it seemed as though the two were having a great time, or at least they had been, until this final photograph. It is incredibly blurry and difficult to make anything out, but the context behind it is highly disturbing. Just comparing it to the photograph taken right beforehand, it appears as though both subjects had been posing for a photo, before quickly turning to their left at the same time, almost as if something off camera had caught their attention, and even startled them. You could see Nicole Smallman looking to her left, and the body of Biba Henry turning that way as well. But besides that, nothing else can really be made out, which makes it all the more bizarre once it's revealed that this would be their last photograph, as the two would be found hours later, having suffered over 30 stab wounds, with their bodies being hidden under nearby brush. The two women had been brutally murdered. Following a lengthy investigation, it would eventually be determined that the two had been attacked that morning by 19-year-old Daniel Hassan, and his motive was incredibly bizarre, as he believed that he had made a deal with the devil, who had told him that if he sacrificed 6 people every 6 months, then he would one day win the Powerball jackpot. Daniel truly believed that the only thing standing in the way of him and millions of dollars was the sacrifice of 6 people. And so that's exactly what he tried to do. On the afternoon of Biba Henry's birthday, Daniel had seen their group in the park celebrating. And when the crowd dispersed to just 2 people, he decided it would be the perfect chance to perform his sacrifice. It was this moment, this final photograph, of the 2 seemingly noticing something on their left, that they would see their killer for the first time, as Daniel had just emerged from the woods, standing just barely out of frame, before he began his attack. In the year and a half since this photo was taken, Daniel has since been convicted of both murders, and is set to serve a minimum of 35 years in prison, though I think it's likely that he will remain behind bars for life. And though the story is quite obviously a tragic one, we can at least find some comfort in the fact that Daniel will no longer be able to carry out the remainder of his sacrifices. The internet never ceases to amaze me with its disturbing content, as every day new twisted stories are being uncovered. So if this is a series you would like to see more of, then please let me know, as there truly is so much more to dive into.
I was convinced early on that we would be on a series. And if we really know the truth, I believe he's probably killed more people in Hawaii than probably anybody else.
For a predator to be in a pen with all of the victims, who knows how many victims he's got.
He had opportunity.
To present himself.
I don't know why. Why?
What are the odds of being a prime suspect in all these murders? It wasn't until later that his first victim that I even found out about this woman, that she was still alive. And saying that she was lucky to be alive.
He's always been a demon in my life, lurking in the back of my head. And I found these words that express it very perfectly. It's called my darkness within. Some of my demons left me. Some are just asleep. A few always travel with me. Others haunt me from the deep. He was one of those. The little ones are charming. They're allowed to stay. The big ones tear me up inside. I just wish they'd go away. Sorry.
Same with the stations, only half them back. Farms and truck stops, fireworks stands. I know this road like a Baptist.
Beginning in the late 1970s, a sinister presence cast a shadow over an isolated part of Central Oregon. It lurked in the background, ignored or unnoticed. Women, often vulnerable or marginalized, were disappearing. It wasn't until decades later that a reckoning finally came. My name is Noelle Crombie, and I'm a staff writer for the Oregonian. Over the past 2 years, I've investigated these crimes and the man who is suspected of committing them. I've read thousands of pages of police reports, traveled halfway across the country, interviewed dozens of witnesses, and spent countless hours driving the road along which the killings took place. This is a complicated story that jumps around in time. So throughout this video series, you'll hear from people who were present at the events they describe, as well as those who investigated them, in some instances, much later. You'll you'll hear tapes of police interviews that were conducted years after some of the events they address. We'll learn information that has never before been made public. These are the stories of the ghosts of Highway 20.
Let me ask you another question in this area. At any time ever, I think it was careful. Okay. Had you gone ahead and been charged with any sex crime or a suspect in any sexual crime?
Yes.
In 1977, Marlene Gabrielson was 20 years old. She lived in the small city of Lebanon along Highway 20 with her husband and their new baby. One night that June, the young couple dropped their daughter off with a friend so they could spend the night at the sisters' rodeo.
I was underage, shouldn't have been drinking, and I got angry about something. Now I can't remember it. So stupid that I just walked off and said, fine, I'm going to go home.
She asked around for a ride, and eventually a man with a pickup offered to take her home to Lebanon, about 80 miles away.
I thought there was nothing wrong. I'd be safe. It wasn't that far from home. I didn't even look around inside the vehicle. All I knew, it was just a beat-up old truck, and I was going home with my kid.
The man with the old truck was John Arthur Ackroyd. Ackroyd was in his late 20s and lived in Sweet Home. He'd recently returned to the area after getting out of the Army and was working for a local welding company, though within a year he'd be employed by the state as a highway mechanic. That night, he took Marlene west toward Lebanon on Highway 20, a road he knew well.
I noticed that there was no, covers on the doors. There was no handles and no roll-you-down thing. I sat in the passenger seat and didn't even think. Didn't even faze me that this was a trap.
Highway 20 twists and turns as it winds from Sisters to Lebanon, carving its way through mountainsides covered in dense evergreen forest. It's a sleepy stretch of road with little development and few landmarks, and it's dark at night. Exits lead to logging roads or campgrounds and quickly disappear into the brush.
I fell asleep, passed out. I woke up with my head banging on the seat and the edge of the outside of the truck door. He had grabbed me by my ankles and just yarded me out of there like I was just a rag dolly. And then he picked me up by the back of my neck and my hair and threw me up against this, a little hill. I felt like I was in a hollow because I remember it was beautiful because it was all green and little flowers blooming, little tiny ones. First thing I thought was, how can you be hurt in this kind of beauty?
All I remember about it is this girl needed a ride home. She was at Sister's rodeo, and she ordered our baby. She pleaded with me to go ahead and take her home so she could check on her baby. I said, okay. She wanted to pull over. And, she kept sexually advancing towards me. So, I pulled over. We tried to do it. I couldn't get up. And she got all bent out of shape.
He grabbed this knife out of a coffee can. That's where he kept his buck knife, the big knife he held to my throat. He put the knife to my throat and told me I was going to do everything he said. And I said, yes, I will. And he stuck the knife in the ground next to me He grabbed the front of my pants, belt and all, and ripped my pants straight down, all the way down the front of my legs. And then he gets his knife and starts cutting off my boots. I just kept thinking, just close your eyes, but I kept, and just let it happen.
She usually have a knife from the break. I thought it. Did you have a knife? There was a knife in the one big. What would it look like? What would you my dad? Grab knife. Had black handle with Did you threaten her with the knife? No. Did you cut her clothes off? No. Cut her clothes? No. Did she took her clothes off. She carried it in. Did the mother not there while I was there?
He would grab my face like this, and because I would turn my head, and he would make it, open your eyes, look at me. Yeah. So I had to look at him, and I did. He got done doing what he wanted, and he kind of stood over me and looked at me, so standing over me with a hand on his hip, wiping his sweat away. You get treated like that, and you don't even feel human. I just laid there and kind of wanted just to seep into the earth, just take my body and bring new life in, something that's much happier than I am at this moment. He was gonna going toward his truck and getting in the keys in his pockets, and I said, okay, you're just gonna leave me here buck ass naked. I didn't want him to stay, but I didn't want to be naked out in the woods. I think he started gathering up my clothes, what was left there, because he didn't want to leave anything. My boots and all that stuff he ripped off of me. I just had my jacket on and a little t-shirt top. He goes, now what do I do with you? I go, you take me home. He goes, I don't know. Let me tell you, I was talking real fast, real low, and real sweet. Because evidently I wanted to live. I had a brand new baby and a new husband.
Aykroyd agreed to take Marlene home that night. Her jeans had been torn during the rape, so he gave her a pair of dirty pants. On the drive, she did all she could to keep him at ease, knowing a rifle and hunting knife were within easy reach.
I didn't want to make him angry. And he asked me if I'd be his girlfriend. Well, I looked down and I see that coffee can with the knife in it. I said, yes. I had him take me to my husband's mother's house. Got on the porch and just started pounding on the door. He left immediately, just left. She goes, oh my God, what happened to you? I had bushes, twigs in my hair. She goes, you need to get in the bathtub right now. And I said, no, I can't get in the bathtub right now. I've just been raped. She wanted me to wash him off. No, I wasn't going to wash him off. I'd hold that shit in until he got it. He will be in trouble once the police come and help me. I did go to the hospital and had a rape kit done. Then I took my shower.
Marlene's rape kit showed vaginal swelling and bruising and abrasions on her back and legs. She went to police and showed them her pants, which had been torn from the crotch to her ankles, her underwear, which had been cut with a knife, and her slashed boots. Despite this physical evidence, police were skeptical. They interviewed Marlene several times, focusing on minor inconsistencies in her story. They had her take a polygraph and concluded she was not telling the truth. Ultimately, they declined to pursue the case.
You did polygraph on that, did you? Or did you? I did. Would it be bad? I don't remember if I did. Kind of out of your history. Remember that one.
I always thought that that's why these people get paid, to protect you. They care? That's what I thought. They care about you. All the system was put in place to protect people, not judge them by who you're married to, what color your skin is. They made me feel like a smelly, drunken native, so I just shrank. It's just another something that I went in my little life in my young days. I let my guard down and I was so angry, so angry. If they would only have listened to me. And you know, I feel guilty sometimes. If they would have just listened to me, it could have all been avoided. All of it.
Marlene was a vulnerable young woman whose assault by a stranger should have provoked outrage and a demand for justice. Instead, her account was disbelieved, deepening her sense of trauma. The implications of law enforcement's failure to believe Marlene and aggressively pursue Aykroyd would be felt along Highway 20 for decades. She was his first known victim. Maybe, if police had listened to her, she would have been his last.
The deputy stopped in and
told me that she was born with styrofoam. Motherfucking blind.
So they're investigating it. And I talked with the deputy a couple times, and he said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "He's probably not come to court."
They were supposed to put this man somewhere where he could not hurt anyone else. Look what happens. Look what happens. I hear I'm the only freaking survivor.
Oh, Schittenheimer. She was born with a styrofoam. Motherfucking brain.
Like to know really what happened. And I think deep inside, somebody probably also is feeling like they'd like to have someone gain the consequences of what they should get over this whole situation.
I gave her the lightweight model. She got the old lightweight model brain, the styrofoam model.
I think they stopped.
She was born with a styrofoam.
He got his gun out. Came across her jogging all alone on a road with no traffic. And,
oh, heavens to Murgatroyd. Heavens to Nurgatroyd. Heavens to frickin' Nurgatroyd.
I saw her alive.
She was born with a styrofoam. Boop, boopy, doopy, brain. Born with a styrofoam. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Motherfucking brain. Ooh-wee. That brain didn't work very well. I said, well, You know, I've heard of people that tell on themselves.
By December of
But telling
1978,
themselves and
it had been
others
about a year and a half since John
before, during,
Aykroyd
and after
raped Marlene
anything they
Gabrielson.
do,
He'd
it's just
suffered
kind
no
of
consequences other than a
something I
beating by
can't quite
Marlene's
wrap my
husband
mind around
shortly
here.
after the attack.
And I don't know that I ever will,
But
be
that winter,
honest with
he
you,
would
kid.
become intertwined with a different crime.
I'm quite sure there
It
may
would
be
follow
no
him for the
answer
rest of
to
his
that
life
question,
and
Wipers.
haunt a
I
quiet
do
community
believe
for
that there are
decades.
certain people in this world that are born with styrofoam brains. And that it's quite possible that that styrofoam brain doesn't really work very well. You know, it's styrofoam. She was born with a styrofoam motherfucking brain. Her brain was styrofoam when she was born, and she had a banjo in her hand.
And worked as a manager at a
You know, Andrew Petroni, he came rolling out of his mom's vagina in a fucking trucker uniform and a semi. When Andrew was born, he just drove a semi straight out of fucking Wilma's pussy. Can you believe that? He's a fucking trucker. And he had a commuter hanging off the back.
She didn't just
A
take it up.
fucking
It became a way of
commuter.
life.
Okay?
Kay ran a
Hey,
marathon
unless
in
you're Andrew,
September of
you're not going to
1978
understand what a commuter
and hadn't
is.
lit up a few months later.
However,
when even
you know,
a cold winter morning wasn't enough
it's
to
just
keep
kind
her
of a,
inside.
you know,
On vacation
it's
with
a
her husband
trucker
and a group
commuter
of friends
thing,
at Camp
okay?
Sherman, a
And you know
retreat
what?
outside of
When
Sisters,
Jason Weekly
she
was
woke up
born, he
early
came
and headed
rolling
out
out of there on a
She
in
was
a
gonna run
fucking
in the morning.
GM sleeve.
As a matter of fact, at
And the windshield wipers were going because he was like, I took it to the car wash. It's coming right along. I was like, whoa.
just couldn't run with Kay the distance Kay would want to run as fast.
Good honest
still a
truck
little undecided, but in the morning,
for a good honest guy. You know what I mean?
Kay's
Good
exact
old
route wasn't
jaybird,
known,
fucking A,
but she
man. What
expected
kind
it
of
to
bird
take about
don't
an
fucking
hour.
fly, bud?
When she hadn't returned after more than twice that long,
You know,
her
good old
husband and
jaybird, he
friends
came
began
rolling
to
out of
worry.
his mom's vagina
Yes, I knew Kay
in a
too well.
GMC.
And
The windshield wipers going full blast.
too smart
He was like,
to
it's coming right along.
or to
Andrew, he drove a fucking,
They searched.
he
but
drove a
found no sign
goddamn
of her.
semi.
Soon,
Andrew was,
they called the police.
when he was born, he just drove a Kenworth straight out of Wilma's pussy. Yep. He didn't know which kind of appearance he was going to make, whether he was going to do it in the commuter or whether he was going to go all the way and be trucker style. But he, as well, was playing a banjo, which was real dangerous. His windshield wipers were going too. Life is cruising right along. Life is commuting on down the road. Good old Andrew. Good honest commuter for a good honest guy. You know, he didn't put 1 ounce of blood, sweat, or tears into it, but I'll tell you what, it's a commuter. It's a commuter. That's a commuter. That's the trucker life.
close proximity to where Kay
Fucking Andrew Petroni and his little tiny wiener. Andrew has a little tiny wiener. Andrew's wiener is pretty little. Listen, he's driving the commuter up to his mom's apartment for a hot lunch date, okay? If you want to ride in the commuter, you gotta pay, okay? Nobody rides for free in Andrew's commuter, okay? First of all. Andrew is a goddamn trucker, okay? Jason's a fucking lineman. He's a lineman. Jason's a goddamn lineman. You know, Jason, don't fuck around. He's a fucking lineman. Jason's a goddamn lineman. He took his truck to the car wash. Coming right along. It was like, whoa, buddy. Whoa. He's a fucking lineman, okay? He's a goddamn lineman. Fucking lineman. Fuck around. Are you talking about Jason?
The friend whose family needed food was Roger Dale Beck. Aykroyd's account of that morning shifted over time, but he said that on the day before Christmas, he
lineman.
an overnight
He's
shift
a goddamn lineman.
at around 6:45 a.m. He said he then drove west on Highway 20
That is
to
a
help
good
a
one.
disabled
He is a
motorist,
winner.
turned around
Yes.
and made his way to Camp Sherman to see if there were any deer.
You know what? First of all, he's a goddamn lineman.
He then realized he was low on fuel and decided to head to a
You talking about the
gas station
GMC? Well, it's coming right along.
Past K for the second in some versions of
He
the
took it
story,
to the car
he claims
wash,
he
okay,
stopped
once.
and spoke to her briefly
Fucker's coming right
after almost
along.
hitting a dog with his truck.
This man fucking coming right along. You talking about Jason and the 3MC? He's a fucking lineman. Okay? Jason's a goddamn lineman. First and foremost, he's a fucking lineman. He's a goddamn lineman. Well, I wouldn't fuck with Jason. He's a fucking lineman. Listen, he drives a GM. You talking about the GM site? Shit, it's a good, honest truck for a good, honest guy. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know what I mean.
John was an outdoors.
You know what I mean?
He knew.
He's a fucking lineman. Okay, he's a lineman.
Things. He was a hunter.
Jason Weekly's a fucking lineman. Okay. Andrew Petroni, he's got a commuter, so what? You know? Listen, he's going up to his mom for a hot lunch date. And listen, nobody rides for free, Mom, especially in the community. So you know what time it is here, baby. I know. I see you got your chapstick on and you're ready to go. Listen, this is a commuter. It's just a commuter. I mean, I took a Sharpie to the white walls. You know, it's coming right along. It's coming right along. I took a Sharpie to the white walls. You know, done a lot of work on it. It's commuter. Commuter. Andrew came rolling out of his mom's vagina in a semi truck. Actually, it was probably it wasn't a Kenworth. No.
She grew up down there.
You know, first of all, Jason's a fucking lineman, okay? What, this whole thing? You talking about the commuter? Shit. I didn't put 1 ounce of blood, sweat, or tears into this thing. It's a fucking commuter. Just an old commuter. I mean, like Big Dale. I got a hot lunch date with my mom. She knows what time it is. Nobody rides for free, Mom. Not in the commuter. Nerp, 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 nerp. You know what I mean? Wink, wink, BJ.
Kay had visited her parents 2 weeks before her trip to Camp Sherman.
First and foremost, Jason's a fucking lineman. I'll have you know, you better respect that man. He's a fucking lineman.
I love you.
He's a straight up lineman.
He didn't come across that note until after
listen, the GMC? What are you talking about? My GMC, it's coming right along. I took it to the car wash once. It's coming right along. Put a lot of fucking hard work in there. When I'm not busy being a lineman, I'm busy taking the GMC to the car wash. Okay? Burkaber?
He had hurt the truck.
Now what? My name's Jay. Simply Jay to you. Okay? Dirt. I'm a fucking lineman. Before I'm anything, I'm a fucking lineman.
Guy comes in and says, you know, I found these.
I'm a
tracks.
single father.
I'm sure
His
they're
son hates
involved
it.
in this.
His son's like, yeah, I love you, Dad. I love you. Yeah, Dad, you're cool. Yeah, you're a fucking lineman. Right on, Dad. Why do you tell everybody you're a lineman? His kid's like, why do you tell everybody you're a lineman? His kid's probably like, what the fuck, dude? My dad keeps telling everybody he's a lineman, and like, what the fuck? That poor kid. He's like, no wonder. He's like, why does my dad keep telling people he's a lineman? Ooh-wee. First and foremost, hey, if Jason wants to come and whoop people's ass for me, I mean, that's fucking hallelujah, dude. I'd probably pay him.
And they find
But,
that the last 6 weeks he spent
I mean,
extended
and you
weekends
know,
away
with him being a lineman and all,
2 other boyfriends.
you know,
Each of them was married, so
I mean, he's a dabbler. He's a dabbler. He dabbles here, he dabbles there. You know what I mean? And the GMC's coming right along. You talking about the GMC? I'm like, hoo-wee. Jason came Jason came rolling out of his mom's vagina in a GMC with the windshield wipers just going as fast as they can.
Noel Turner, who
Oh,
eventually left
man.
Cashman with a car full of unopened Christmas presents for his wife, had an inkling about Kay's affairs.
And
By concentrating on him
Andrew's like,
for
honk,
days of
honk.
investigation,
He comes out of his
Police
mom's
lost valuable
vagina.
time and gave
Honk,
short shrift
honk.
to other aspects of the case.
Oh, man, that's a good one, dude. I come up with the best. I mean, I
Really, if
should
you're
have been on
searching for a
TV.
body, you don't need to go much more than 100 yards off
He's
the
a
road.
fucking lineman.
What they should have done
Okay?
is covered.
I don't need to say
the
anything else.
route,
Plain and simple, he's a
100
fucking
yards
lineman
off the road
for
all the way
Vista.
around.
He's
If
a
they'd
lineman for
really
a
done a
Vista.
good job of the
He can go to work whenever he wants, which is never. He can go to work. He's got his own schedule, okay? He can go to work whenever he wants to, which is never. But he's a fucking lineman. Okay, Bert? You know, he owns his own fucking house.
With
He's
no
a fucking
body,
lineman.
no leads, the
Lineman.
case went cold.
Yeah.
Until 8 months later.
You know what? He doesn't have
when
time for
John
this.
Aykroyd
He's headed
walked
to the car
Camp
wash.
Sherman store
We're out.
and told the shopkeeper he'd found a body in the woods.
He's the damn lineman, and I swear to God,
Nobody
I'll
had
swear
any
if you say it one more time.
particular to him
I'm calling him right
until
now.
he
Jay,
walks
tell him
into the
you're a
store.
lineman.
Found Kate.
God, it's like they don't believe me. You're a fucking lineman, right, Jay?
Yellow jogging shorts.
Yeah.
I interviewed him in the
Fucking
car.
lineman.
His face was perspiring, his forehead was
I mean, if you want to fuck around with a lineman, go ahead. He's a lineman.
Told me, it says John. And when he talked to him and told him
Be
about
warned.
the god
You're
awful
fucking with a
stench,
lineman. Yeah?
he found the body.
Yeah?
Well,
All
all
right.
it was
He's a
whether
lineman.
white bones. There wouldn't have been any odor involved.
The
On it.
GMC?
It would have been as the body.
Shit. That good honest truck?
high suspicion that
It ain't easy being a lineman and driving a GMC at the same time.
For anybody that
All
spends
right.
any time in the woods,
His son is like, Dad, why do you tell everybody you're a
not
lineman?
common at all to find clothing in the woods.
Dad, why do you tell everybody you're a lineman?
So that's kind of hard.
That poor
to,
kid.
Believe
Why
that
does
he
my
was
dad
sure
keep telling
that it
everybody
was
he's
her.
a lineman? I'm pretty sure he's not a lineman. Dad, are you really a lineman? Oh, I didn't think so. I've never seen you be a lineman before.
Searched the area. He found the
You know what? He's a
watch,
fucking lineman. Duh.
found the hair.
His son's like,
Maybe in the bird's nest.
what does my dad
sit
do?
down and
I
watch
don't
the
know.
Nerds.
He said he's a lineman, but I've never seen him go to work before.
It's made out of this long blonde hair wrapped
I
in
don't know.
tweets.
The kid's like,
And it was right there.
don't ask me. His son's like, I do not know what my dad does for a living, but I'm pretty sure he's not a lineman. He can go whenever. He can go to work whenever he wants. You know what I mean? Just whenever. Just whenever. Which is pretty much never. All I know, man, you can fuck with Jay at your own risk, but I'm telling you right now, he's a fucking lineman. You're fucking with a lineman. Okay? And not only that, he's got a damn GMC, so I mean, fuck with him at your own risk. He's a fucking lineman. Okay? He's a lineman.
Probably something like that.
And I feel like you ain't gonna get real far with him. He's a fucking lineman, okay? He's a fucking lineman. Lineman. You can say what you want about Jay, but you know what? He's a lineman.
Bodies dumped in the woods are
Before
often
he's anything,
scattered
he's
by
a
animals
dog-hang
and
lineman.
ravaged by the
He's a
elements.
lineman.
The bits
That's
of
a
bones
GM,
Aykroyd
so
found were
yeah,
not
like-
obviously human.
Oh, it's coming right
An
along.
avid
Just
outdoorsman
the
like
fucking car wash.
Aykroyd
What are you
would
talking
probably have
about? It's a good
overlooked
honest
the
truck,
scraps
good
of
honest
clothing
gas.
as nothing
He's a
more than
fucking
debris.
lineman.
But Aykroyd immediately
You know?
identified them as
Fuck with him at
K's.
your own risk, but I'm telling you right now,
These
bud, he's a
peculiarities,
lineman.
combined with the fact that
Jason's a
Aykroyd
lineman.
was one of the last people to
He's
see
a
Kay
lineman for a
alive,
Vista. He can
made
go
him
to
a
work
prime
whenever he
suspect
wants.
in her murder.
You know? I mean,
We gotta hold
Jason's
it.
a lineman. Hey, listen, Jason's a fucking lineman, okay? He's a lineman.
I failed the
He's a
polygraph.
lineman for a Vista. He can go to work whenever he wants, okay? You know, and that means he's never been to work before.
Jogging along the road.
But he's a lineman.
Asked you if
Lineman
you
for a
ever
rooster. He's a
touched
lineman.
nature.
Yeah,
And
he's
he
a
said,
lineman.
no. Well,
He's a lineman.
polygraph showed that he did.
Yep.
So we asked him about
His
that
son's like,
touching.
Dad, why do you always tell everybody
He
you're
said,
a
well, he
lineman?
did touch her in February.
It's just
She was laying on top of the snow.
What the fuck is up with
During
my
an
dad,
interrogation
dude?
after failing the lie
Why
detector
is my
test,
dad such a
Aykroyd changed
loser?
his story and
Why
made
do
a
I have to have
startling
him for a
disclosure.
dad?
He said that he'd
He's
first
not a
found Kay's
lineman. I
body
don't
2
understand why
months
you keep
after her
telling everybody
disappearance.
that. Oh,
His
wait, he's a
description was
lineman.
detailed
Okay,
and
I got
disturbing,
that.
noting
Jason
that her eyes
Jay
were
came
gone,
out of his mom's
that
vagina
animals
driving on
obviously chewing
GMC
on
with
her
the
body.
windshield wipers just
Her throat had
going
been
as
slashed,
fast as they
and there was a
can.
hole in her chest that looked like an exit wound.
He knew what he was going to be when he first
Aykroyd
came out. He
claimed
was
he didn't
playing the
report
fucking
discovery out
banjo.
of fear he would be blamed for Kay's death.
You
The
know what?
interrogation ended when Aykroyd
Yep.
asked
Say
for
what you
a lawyer.
want about
Do
Jason,
you
but I'll
think he
tell
came
you what,
back
he's
out
a
here in
lineman.
February and just checked on?
Sure.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Look at Andrew. I mean, he's got a commuter that he didn't even, you know, he didn't put 1 ounce of blood, sweat, or tears into it. He did take a Sharpie to the white walls, but I mean, it's a commuter.
In Kay's murder,
Commuter.
investigators had no hard physical evidence.
Andrew's a fucking badass. He came out of his mom's vagina in a Peterbilt. Honk, honk.
The tracks.
Yep.
And not only the
He
forensic
took his commuter up to his mom's for
but they
lunch,
would
hot
have
date. He said, Mom,
good, fresh
nobody rides for free,
information.
especially in my commuter. You know the deal, Ma.
Evidence you're going to
Before
have.
we go to lunch, I'm going to get me some, okay?
Longer it goes, the harder it
Ba-ba-da-da-da-da.
We had no evidence to hold
Yep,
him.
Andrew, he was driving out of his mom's vagina when he was born in a Peterbilt going, honk, honk.
It bothered me to know.
He's a trucker, dog. Okay, he's a fucking trucker.
I think
All
about
right.
it quite often. He made the statement, why did I have to find her? I was the last one to see her alive. He no doubt in my mind that he was the last person to see her alive.
Jason Weekly came out of his mom's vagina in a GMC with the windshield wipers just going as fast as they
Suspicion
can.
and circumstantial evidence implicating Aykroyd weren't enough for
GMC's
police to
coming
arrest him.
right along.
The investigation.
What do you mean? When I'm not being a lineman, working on the truck?
At Santana Junction,
He's
roaming
so
Highway
stupid.
20 alone. For more than a decade.
Could you imagine just
Kay's
fucking
case
living your
remained
whole life as a fucking loser and trying to make the whole world think that you're not the whole time? Like you're like, you got this job and like all this shit. Like, oh my God, dude. Oh, that's just so fucking pathetic. He's just constantly trying to prove himself.
It didn't
Oh my
surface again
God.
until
And
July
like, if he
10th,
really...
I walk out of court.
Oh man, you know, he might have ended up a decent guy had he been left to his own devices and able to just make his own way, but
And I said, yeah, John Aykroyd killed Kay Turner.
that dude's fucking
well,
ruined,
his
man.
stepdaughter disappeared.
That dude's totally ruined.
Investigation going on.
He's never gonna be anything but a lineman. Nothing but a lineman.
We had
Jason's
had
a lineman.
car head-on, fatal accident. The Honda car had hit a semi head-on, and it had a young woman that was killed in the Honda car. And the semi had blocked
Fucking
the road
hardworking
in such a way
lineman.
that the tow trucks couldn't get it out.
You
and they
know?
needed a piece of highway
Yep.
equipment.
He's got a
So
boy that
John
hates his
showed up at
guts.
the scene.
And
I
I'm pretty
deliberately
sure his
saw
daughter
that
hates him
none of the
too.
brothers helped me.
She's like, my
Helped me
dad is a
remove
fucking
the woman's
weirdo.
body
He tells
from the
everybody
car.
he's a
I
lineman.
asked Aykroyd
And he's
to
a
help
fucking not a lineman.
remove her from the car. And I did that.
Who did you hear
because I
that?
wanted
Did
to
you hear
see
the
what
rats
his
are at it again? That's their
response
mating call.
to handling
That's
this
their
woman's
mating
body.
call. It's mating
And
season.
I was not
It's mating
prepared
season
for
for the rats
what happened
again.
because as we took her out of the car, he told me that he was
Old Bob
surprised
Barker's not out in the yard
how
yet,
light
but
she
he'll be
was,
out here.
and
I like
she
old
weighed
Bob
the exact
Barker.
same amount as Rashonda.
Oh
his
man,
stepdaughter.
you know, first and foremost, I have so much respect for Jay. Being a lineman and shit, that's got to be a tough deal.
She went missing on.
I mean, it's got to be hard to be that much of a badass.
If I would have had someone
Shit,
take me
that's
home
a tough
then,
gig.
I might have
Could you imagine being a badass lineman like Jason?
I feel like
I mean, he's a fucking lineman.
So who's the most likely suspect?
I mean,
John
jeez,
Arthur
man, the
Ackroyd.
man is a
I know who
lineman.
killed my sister. John Ackroyd is the one who killed my sister.
She's up on that mountain somewhere.
Jason's a fucking lineman. Okay, he's a lineman. Pura Vista. Jason's a lineman.
Same with the station.
He came rolling out of his mom's vagina in a GMC with the windshield wipers just going real fast. You know what? Before he's anything, he's a fucking lineman. And you know what? His obligation in this world is as a lineman, and then everything else comes second. Because first and foremost, above all, he's a fucking...
By 1990,
you know what he is. You know what time it is. He's a lineman.
Police strongly suspected that state highway mechanic John Ackroyd had killed
I'd like
her,
to see you
but
try
lacked
being a
evidence to charge
lineman,
him.
you know?
In the decade plus that had passed, some of the
You know, he's
original
a fucking
investigators had
lineman.
retired, witnesses had moved away,
And,
and the Turner case had
being a
faded into
lineman.
the background as an unsolved murder.
I mean,
But
you
soon,
might not want to go
another
into that line of
disappearance would
work. I mean,
reignite
look
those
what
lingering
happens to you if you're a
and draw a
lineman.
new generation of
You turn into
investigators
somebody
into
like
Ackroyd's
Jason.
work.
Whoa. If he ever had to, like, you know, take care of himself or something, he might have been an alright guy. But instead, he went into the lineman business. Yeah, He just calls him up and says, "Hey, I'm working today." Bam, goes to work. they work their schedule around him.
Somebody my size, your size, even smaller.
You can't miss him. He'll be in a GMC, okay? The GMC, it's coming right along. I mean, it is coming right along. I put it on a come along.
In July of 1990, Rachanda Pickle was 13 years old. She loved animals, helping her mother with chores, and bossing around her 14-year-old brother Byron.
Tough work. It's real
She
tough
lived
work.
with her family at Santiam Junction.
But this snuff film body parting business, I mean, it's that's also a tough line of work to be in, you know. The market's flooded. Flooded.
Very into the most
DNA everywhere.
She was wonderful.
Fucking DNA from every missing person for the last 25 years. Everywhere.
She was tiny.
Yep.
Rachanda was.
Listen, parting out bodies and selling organs isn't always the easiest work, okay? But when it really comes into play as a benefit, and you're real glad, what makes it all worthwhile is when we make them into a good snuff film. You know what I mean? So that's pretty neat right there.
The nearest towns are sisters to the east, and Sweet Home, where Byron and Rachanda.
There's no time for lineman work at that point. When you're busy. When you're busy parking out bodies, making snuff films, you know, kidnapping people. Kidnapping people that I guess aren't smart enough to blow your head off, you know. It's tough work, you know. It's tough work.
We grew up very poor.
It's real tough work. I mean, we got to do the interstate thing, and it's like, whoa.
Pizza, which was stuff we weren't really, you know, when you're born.
Yep. Edie sent me a text all about it. She was the first one to tell me.
Because all I had was.
Edie was the first one to tell me.
Cheating on me, stealing from me.
Said she had to go out of town. He's tied up out there.
John wasn't that tight.
And then now he's back in town. And I was like,
it seemed like that he was very stable.
Cool, Teflon Edie. Thanks for the update.
You know,
right on, baby.
Very good at making relationships.
Never
quick.
fuck with the fucking lineman.
And I felt good that I could dress my kids not in rags. And I wanted my kids to graduate, you know, where I could be.
My daddy taught me when I was young, never fuck with a lineman.
And it just.
Anything but a lineman. Anything but a lineman.
While living with John might have provided stability for Linda, it was a nightmare for her kids. Ackroyd was often described
being a badass lineman is a hard It's a
behind
hard
closed doors, he was
sacrifice to
violent and
make for a
volatile.
guy like Jay, you
She
know?
used to have her bangs a certain way, same way all the time. She didn't
I
come in
mean,
for
when
hair
you're dumb
done
enough to go
one
to
morning. I'm
prison like the way he did.
What's wrong with you?
Oh, and
You
I
know,
got
why didn't
this
you do your
weird
hair?
feeling
And he had
like
ripped
all
the
of a
patch
sudden,
of her
like
hair out.
it didn't even ever occur to
She
me
showed up one day to school.
until like
She
the
had a black
last time
eye.
I saw that fucker.
And
I'm
she
like,
had a really
did
big
this
black eye. It had
dude
a little cut
tell
right
people
right
that I
there.
like
I asked
ratted
her,
on
Jana,
him?
what happened?
Because
She
I
said,
like got this weird feeling that maybe he did or something.
Byron
I'm
always
like,
had
huh?
black eyes,
But
fat lips.
of
they
course
were
I don't
very
know. But I mean, the
physically,
last time I
obviously
saw him,
abused
it was
children.
really weird. I don't remember what it was, but it was
Like with
just
your kids.
like, what the fuck, dude?
Very
You're
good. I
weird,
mean,
man. You're a fucking loser. And how much do you want to make a bet? You were the one that told.
Have you ever spanked her? Yes. Okay, move on. I made him have it.
Listen, he was a marijuana kingpin, okay?
And
But dude, I mean, like, fuck.
discipline the kids. She got
He operates the same way he's operating in this fucking deal, okay? Just fucking stupid and blatant. They all are. They all are. Or I wouldn't know as much as I know about them.
I mean, I remember him.
I mean, if I know this much about these people, then believe me, there's a lot of people that do too, other than me. Okay, including the feds and the cops and everybody else.
There would be times,
mean,
and this was way before she came out missing.
Yeah, that tight-lipped little secret over there. It's not really very much of a secret. I think they're onto you, kids. If I'm onto you, then yeah. Oh boy, these people are funny. They're like, we can do whatever we want. We know Jay, he's a fucking lineman. He'll get us out of anything. You know, he's a smart man. Very smart man. He's very smart. Real smart. Real sharp.
More hours of school. Oh man, there's only an hour left of school.
It wasn't a healthy
But
environment.
when he's not busy looking in the mirror, he's busy, and I'm like trying to figure out why he's looking in the mirror so much. Like, isn't that rat that you see in the mirror kind of disturbing to you, Jay?
In her mind, she was going to get away from him.
I mean, doesn't that kind of like bother you a
By the
little
end of
bit
the
when you
school
look in
year
the mirror?
in
He's like,
1990,
peekaboo.
Chanda and Byron had convinced Linda to let them spend part of the summer with
Oh
their
Lord, he's like,
biological
gosh,
father.
look at how
The kids
handsome I
traveled
am.
to
He's always
Medford
like,
to meet up with
oh
Stephen
no,
Pickle,
come here,
a
look at
man
this
they
picture.
barely knew.
This is my impression of Jake. I'm sure he really said this to me, and I quote, come here, look at this picture. No, but look at this picture of me. Look at this picture of me. God, aren't I so good looking? And I'm sitting here going, well, not really. I mean, you're not really that good looking. I mean,
Stephen Pickle confronted the kids about
you
family
kind of were
members
a
who
cute
Chanda had
kid,
been
but
sexually abused by both an
Jay,
extended family
dude,
member
Eric's
and
way
a man
cuter
who
than
Linda
you.
had met before Ackroyd.
My dad had us both sit down on the couch. I remember
Sorry.
sitting there in the mirror looking at each other, and it was just like, oh my gosh, we're going to have this conversation.
But,
Dad
you
was
know,
living.
what you lack in looks, you make up by being a lineman. Okay, Jay?
Talked about getting an attorney and stuff and getting us both yanked from my mom. I mean, it was underneath her watch, and she didn't do anything about it.
He was born with a styrofoam brain.
Byron's attempt to join a game of hide and seek with neighborhood kids.
He came out of his mom driving a GMC
to have sex.
with a fucking work belt on.
Chanda demanded to go
With a work belt. Ready to go to work whenever he wants. Or Vista.
Dropped my sister off, and I knew I'd see her within a couple weeks. And I mean, it's still ingrained in my head.
Oh, he's got a great contract with Vista. The homeowner, single dad, good honest truck owning son of a gun, you know. It's a hell of a truck you got there, Jay.
But Chanda's ride dropped her
Looks
off.
like you've been doing a lot of work on it,
She
eh?
immediately began looking for a way that
Went
she
to the
would
car
have
wash
to
again?
return to Santiam Junction alone.
Good.
She came to me and asked me if I would go.
Andrew's
to the
like,
junction with her.
maybe I should Sharpie the
I said,
tail lights too.
I said I can't.
He's like, I don't know what else work I don't know what other kind of work I want to do on this commuter.
She wouldn't tell me.
He's like, this is a
She said,
commuter, okay? I took a Sharpie to the white walls, and I mean, I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into making this truck of mine. I took the damn thing to the car wash. GMC, it's coming right along. I'm a fucking lineman. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I'm a lineman. I'm a goddamn lineman. GMC driving lineman, okay? Plain and simple. Basically, my whole identity is this GMC. Yeah, nah. I look at. Oh no, he doesn't look. I was gonna say he doesn't stare in the mirror. No, he doesn't stare in the mirror. He takes pictures of himself and then stares at the pictures of himself. He's like, look at me. Look at how handsome I am. And I'm like, yeah,
Virginia's
you're really
classmates,
handsome,
Andy and
Jay.
Michelle, had been molested in their own home
You're
for years.
sexy.
Well before that summer, the sisters had
I
begun
mean,
to
mostly
notice
it's that
familiar signs in
GM3.
Virginia, in addition to her
I just love you
symptoms
for
of
your
physical abuse.
GM3,
She had
Jay.
become depressed,
And I
was
mean, I
tired
think
all
it's
the
pretty
time,
cool that you're
and
a
had stopped
lineman
caring
too,
as much about
you
her
know?
appearance.
Oh yeah.
Their suspicions seemed confirmed when Richanda
I
told
said, Jay,
Michelle she had
dude,
sought
I think
help
they're
from
on
their
to you,
school's
bud.
counselor.
If
We
I
were in
know
the
what the
library. It
fuck's
was a
going
book
on
fair.
here,
I just looked up and she was
then
just
trust
she was
me.
crying.
Everybody does. We all know that.
Said,
Okay, that's
I'll be
good.
back. And she got
That's
up and
real
left.
good. That's
Came
real
back
good.
to the library. I don't know, about 20 minutes later, and she said, "You know what?
Hey
You
man,
told me that
you mind if I
I'm like,
give me the keys?
yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
drive a
happened to me too.
GMC to the store.
During that time, she got really depressed. She didn't want to go home.
She kept
That's his
asking, "Can I
baby.
spend the
That's
night?
his
Can I spend the
baby.
night? Can I spend the night?" And back then,
A
my
lot of
parents,
hard
we
work
weren't
to
allowed
get
hard to
that
spend the night
thing.
with
You know, he's a
anybody.
good,
Pretty much had
honest
to
man.
beg. So they
Good,
let her spend the
honest
night.
truck for
That was
good,
a Friday night.
honest man.
A Saturday, she stayed, and
Being
then
a
that
lineman
Sunday, her
ain't
mom
easy.
comes to get her, and
Yeah.
Regina
Yeah.
hid in my
Fucking
closet,
lineman.
Screaming and throwing
He's a
fits.
goddamn lineman.
throwing clothes over her, putting shoes, throwing stuff at her
Oh
mom.
man.
You don't
Oh
act like that
man.
if you just,
Must be so hard to
gonna
be
be
such
sent
a
to your room.
lineman.
You do not act like that. And she was literally terrified.
Don't make me go. I don't want to go.
You know, I got a lot of respect for Jay. You know, he's a lineman. Look at how handsome he is, man. Yeah.
After that, that's when we snuck her.
He's a homeowner, GMC driver.
And forged my mom's name.
He lives in an apartment that he pays $550 a month for, but he's a
Home
homeowner.
with us.
We told her
He's
we
a
were
gelding
gonna hide her for as long
homeowner.
as we could.
We snuck her through our window, and she stayed the night with us.
What can we do?
Jay's
we were little
son
kids
is
too.
like,
We tried.
why does
Pretty
my
bad when
dad keep
kids have to
telling
go
everybody he's a
that level to do
lineman?
that.
My dad's a
Any
loser.
adult was put into the place of authority to help her ever helped her.
I think that
Oh man.
she did
Yeah,
try
the
to
owner
protect
of that
herself,
body
and
shop, and he's an
nobody
attorney.
listened.
He's an attorney. I'm trying to remember what his name is. I'll remember here pretty soon. He's an attorney. He's an attorney. He's a body part specialist.
Whenever possible, with any
Yep,
friends or
snuff
relatives.
film creator and body part specialist.
While she mostly kept the details of what she was
Neat
going
guy.
through to herself,
Real neat guy.
it was clear
Just
that it was
a
getting
gem.
worse.
Handsome as all get out. He's
She started cutting herself.
he's having an affair with
Even
his
in class,
mom.
she would take a tack and just cut herself. And I'd ask her,
He doesn't need to get laid.
Is she all right? And she just
If
I
a
don't
mom
know
as good looking as his, he
what's
just
going
gonna
on.
fuck
She-
her
she
instead.
wouldn't, say what the exact reason was. Now I'm getting
When
older.
he's
I have
not
my
busy at the
suspicions
body
what those
shop,
reasons were.
parting out
When you're
bodies and
constantly
making
in a
snuff
state of
films,
fear all the time,
he's
actually analyzing what's going on.
he is
because
fucking
you
his
can't.
mom,
You're
taking
just in a
names.
state of fear. You're
Oh, he's an
on
attorney.
eggshells.
That's right. He's an
you just want to have a
attorney.
normal day.
He's an
Just
attorney.
a normal day.
Yep,
all
he
he
did
wants.
all the legal work
telling
up
me
in
and
there
Mandy a
for
couple
everybody.
One time I was doing dishes and he
Oh
called me over on
yeah,
the
how
couch
do you
and
think he
started
got so much
tickling
respect?
me.
You
And it
know,
got
he's a
more
fucking attorney.
aggressive where he was trying to put
He's
his
an
body on
attorney
top of her
and a
Regina
body shop
came
owner.
nuts, somehow got away. After that incident is when the
Body
other stuff
shop
started
owner,
happening when he was
attorney.
coming into her room.
She never said if
He's
anything
an
had
attorney
happened.
by day and a body
but
shop owner by night.
I'm pretty sure it did.
We never felt like she had to because
His
we were kind of
mom's
going through
pussy ain't safe if he's in
but
the
it's not okay
vicinity.
for him to go into her room at night.
You're gonna bang that fucking hot ass.
I always felt like he was raping
He
her.
also has a hot lunch date.
Abused by it?
Much the same way Andrew does.
Alive that you know of.
Not if I'm aware of. I don't ever recall her.
Listen, Mom, nobody rides for free in the commuter.
No.
My read of it now is
Not in my
that
commuter.
there was something going on at home
I'm a
with
fucking
between
trucker.
John and
You
Richard.
better gall darn have some
Richard
respect. I'm
did
a
confide to
trucker.
Mom what Dad said, how he's gonna get charges filed and stuff. I know my mom told John, and it was the very next day that she was gone.
Fucking trucker, okay? Fuck around. Listen, he's such a trucker that when he came out of his mom's vagina, he was driving a fucking Peterbilt going home.
After that conversation, her father had called Linda with threats to involve the authorities, and Linda had told John.
And he left his commuter up in there, and then she got an infection.
Alone without Byron.
Commuter.
Then Richanda disappeared.
He hadn't put any work into it himself. He made sure somebody else built it, but he did take a Sharpie to the white walls. He did take some white out to the white walls and coming right along.
She held back.
In fact, he put it on a coming right alonger. He put it on a come along.
You have to go to work.
Well, yeah, no. You got a hot lunch date out at the body shop.
Work all day.
Body shop, body shop.
He asked her if she wanted to go for a ride with him.
When I say body shop,
Richanda did everything she could to get away
I'm
from
talking
this
about
man.
a real
She was
life
not gonna go
body
and
chop
spend
shop.
any alone time with him. There's just no way.
Snuff film making.
That he just went out on a
Badasses.
drive to take pictures of deer.
Nothing but badasses. Raping dogs, killing dogs, raping people, raping dogs.
He comes out on the road and makes sure that
body
the
work?
highway department workers see him. He has a camera and he makes a point of I'm going to
Did
establish
take
myself
some
an
white
alibi.
out to Andrew's white walls, if that's what you want to know.
She wasn't home, and that was about noon.
He did show up one day for some body work. We went ahead and took some white out to his white walls.
Richanda wasn't there.
I'll tell you, that's one hell of a commuter you got there, Andrew.
I think it was around
One
10 to
hell of a
5.
commuter.
I said, something's not right, John. I said, she should have been home. Where is she? And then he'd come back and tell me, well, I don't know. I said, well, obvious you should know. You were here with her.
Fucking commuter. Hey, man, don't knock being a fucking landlord.
Most otherwise, I assumption is somebody just happened to come in. Maybe
He's a fucking landlord.
there's a perfect opportunity. Take it. What did she put up a strong?
His poor son.
Depends on how he got her out.
He's like, yeah, my dad's a lineman. Yeah. He's like, oh my God. Oh man, he goes down for Parents' Day at college, and his daughter's like, yeah, he's a lineman. Oh boy.
I mean, there for the longest time when it was freshly, I just said,
When you drive a truck like that, you don't even need a parking pass, okay?
You could have probably walked in. He wouldn't expect you there.
You get there, and everybody's already on the ground
And I've
kissing
always
it, you
said,
know?
well, if I would have been there, would have happened on a different
I said,
day.
Jay, can I have my
that day,
autograph?
I remember Mom calling saying, have I heard from Richanda? No. Why? Well, she's not home. And then, automatically, well, you go down and check with, the
I
Reds
think
boys and stuff, see if she's
they
down there.
know
We already
about
did that. We
the
already
snuff
did that.
films.
I'm like, you guys need to call the
Think
cops.
they know about the snuff
Well, John says
films.
that we can't call the
I
cops until she's
think
gone
they
for 24
know
hours.
about your
I'm like,
amateur surgeries
I don't know
and
what to
the
tell you, man.
airport schedule.
She's up there. She's up there.
Okay, how old is she? 13. When was the last time you saw her? It was 8:30 yesterday morning. And you're just now calling in?
Well, Kamala, your mom sold you years ago, okay? Just years ago. Dondale, we're going to take you out to the snuff film factory.
Okay, but you weren't concerned then? See, I'm trying to find out why the delay of calling in.
There's a whole bunch of linemen out there waiting for you, baby. Some linemen. Motherfucking linemen.
That's not true, not with children. Children are not at all with children.
It's easy for you to say. You're not a fucking lineman.
A child. Oh, okay. I thought
Okay?
maybe it was. No.
What do you know about being a fucking lineman?
And then when Mom called
Nothing.
the next day saying Richanda hadn't made it
Get
home,
out of my
I
business.
told my
I'm
dad,
a
we
lineman.
need to go up there. He's like, no, we're going to play it out. I told him, I'm like, You either take
My
me
kids
home
hate
and
me
stuff, or I'm gonna go to the truck
because
stop
I'm a
and I'm gonna find a
weirdo.
trucker and I'm gonna hitch a ride back home.
And they know it.
So
They're like,
that's when
oh
my
my
daddy
God,
started
Dad's
yelling
here
at me, and
again.
that's when I
Fucking
broke down
gross.
crying. Something's wrong.
Fucking
Something's
gross, Mom.
not
Tell
right.
them I'm not here.
The next day we loaded up into this vehicle. We drove
I'm
home.
not talking to that weirdo again. He's so way too weird.
100
He made
searchers
me
from
tell
6
my
different
friends
county
he's a
law enforcement
lineman.
agencies, including Lane County, spent their day poking through
He's
the
an
wilderness
embarrassing
near the
son of a
Voodoo
bitch,
ski
Mom.
area
Don't make me
in
talk to
search
him.
of 13-year-old Rashonda Leah Pickle. In the initial days, air searches of the mostly barren lava lands resulted in nothing. Now, ground crews are concentrating on the heavy underbrush that lines the roadways.
Well, we
His
had
kids are like,
all the
Mom, can we
workers
change our last name?
go out and look. I'm telling John, well, you know this.
Jason's like, your last name, you already got your last name changed. I changed it from Weekly to Shirley, you know? You know, our last names are funny because they're so fitting.
The thing that was strange
So
about
fitting.
it, we had sex.
I'm
And-
Shirley, and you're
And I
Weekly.
think back,
Isn't that interesting?
why would you have sex? I mean, there's a kid missing here.
His wife.
You're a lineman.
The most chilling thing of that interview with her was when she said,
Listen, Andrew's got a hot lunch date.
John.
And if you think you're hopping in this commuter, you're gonna you gotta pay. You gotta pay to play in this commuter. Mom,
Rashonda disappeared. And then
you know what time it
it
is.
was all over her. It was a very
Nobody rides for free, Mom. Not even you. Not in the commuter.
Got him very excited.
Not in the fucking commuter, man. You want to ride in the commuter? You know what me. BJ, Mom. BJ, Mom. Just listen. This is my commuter, Mom. She's like, oh, I'm so proud of you, son. Oh. I can't wait to give you a blowjob for a ride. Riding in the commuter. She's so proud of her son, you know what I mean? He's a fucking badass.
Aykroyd's apparent sexual
Yeah,
association with his
commuter.
stepdaughter's disappearance didn't end there. Less than 2
Look, I
weeks
took
later,
some white out to the
searchers
white
found a
walls.
pair of pants
Coming right
she
along.
thought to be Rachanda's. An investigator noticed
Lots
the
of
highway
shop
worker
time on
appeared to
that.
take direction when shown the clothing.
Out at the shop.
Developed on the front
Wink,
of his
wink.
pants.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Well, it's going to be hard for you to kill me, buddy, with a bullet in your head. That's going to be where it really gets challenging. Where it starts to get hairy is when you're trying to kill me, but you have a bullet in your head, and I'm like, well, at least you gave it all you had there, bud. But something about having a bullet in your head just blew the whole thing out of the fucking water. Now, oh, the one thing I've learned over the years is that dead people can't kill people.
Who had inherited the cold K. Turner case when he took office.
I mean, this bullet right here, I'll take a kidnapper and turn him into just
putting John
a
Aykroyd
bleeding fucking mess.
We had a really strong team. I mean, it was the case that needed to get.
Did you know that 65% of gunshot wounds to the head are survivors? Isn't that cray?
This has gone on.
Probably
way
because
too
most of
long
them were probably innocent
because he
people that
was a
shouldn't have been
predator.
being shot or
And he
something.
clearly was.
Well, you know, the shop. I'm
As
talking
hope
about
of
the
finding
shop,
Rachanda
okay?
alive dimmed,
Idaho.
the ongoing
Shop.
searches took on new
Shop.
meaning as
Snuff
members of
film.
the task force
Idaho.
invited
Shop.
Aykroyd to join them. hoping he
Amateur
might
surgery.
inadvertently reveal information
Beating
about
hearts.
location.
John would just
Flight
happen to be
schedules.
around all these people, like one of
You
the
know.
boys, be involved in the investigation. I think he liked the idea of being involved.
That's fairly common with people like
The
that.
shop,
They
it's
like to
more
be
on the
close
snuff film side of things. You know
to
what I
the
mean?
action.
Because
and they
really,
like
we
to
gotta
find out
stay close to the
what you
airport.
know.
Okay.
We were all walking through the woods, and even though
We're on a flight schedule here. Okay. February 25th, February 24th. Yeah, I'm gonna rat you out for killing my brother, motherfucker. If I were you, I'd shut up. But obviously, we are two different people. I'm definitely not you. But you are very dumb. Yes.
Unless you've been there, done that. They did.
Congratulations on your newest snuff film, there, weirdo. You're not a badass. You're actually the biggest pussy on the planet. You remind me of this guy I know that's a lineman. Once you become a lineman,
Chanda was ever found.
I mean,
Unanswered questions.
your whole life changes when you become a lineman.
And how things might have turned out differently trouble those affected to this
I
day.
got a contract with a fist. What are you talking about? A lineman.
Probably what's haunted me my whole entire life was looking back going,
You know what? I love this GMC so much. I've been loving GMC since 7 to 7. Came out of my mom driving a GMC. Windshield wipers just flapping back and forth.
just to get us out of the abusive environment. And of course, my mom was like, there was no.
Well, when you are a lineman, he was a
that's
lineman that was born with a styrofoam brain.
If I would have done that,
His kids are like, I don't know. I guess he's a lineman. Not really sure.
I mean,
you talking about my dad? That's not my dad, dude. That's not my dad.
That wants to think that way. Looking back,
My dad's not a lineman. He's just a fucking loser.
Not
let's see here. What can I tell you about my dad? He likes Longhorn barbecue until they finally whooped his ass and kicked him out of there. So now he can't even get Longhorn no more. His favorite thing is Longhorn, and then they kicked his ass. Now he can't even get Longhorn anymore.
Yeah, there's a little bit that I do put on.
But at least he's a lineman.
All her fault? No.
At least he's a lineman.
No, it's John Aykroyd's fault that this happened.
You know, she could just.
Life gets a lot better when you just sit back and realize, hey, wait a minute, I'm a fucking badass lineman. What am I depressed about? I'm a fucking lineman.
We could have grew up together, you know.
Life is good.
You know, she'd be a mother right now.
Blood, sweat, and tears, car washes, GMCs. Hanging out at the shop.
I get to hear this. She doesn't. It just
he's a marijuana kingpin that's doing it when it's like, dude, these people, they used to try to talk me into fucking growing weed in my house, and I'm like, no, I have a daughter. I'm good. You can make $10,000 in 2 months. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's tempting, and I wanted to, but I couldn't because of my child. This motherfucker's like, he's just like blazing around fucking. Okay, Jay, you know this stuff is illegal, okay? You might want to just. You're not very low key, but I feel like this is going to go bad for you.
Despite its best
he's a
efforts,
lineman.
the task force's attempts to extract information from Aykroyd were going nowhere. His knack for creating reasonable doubt, even while implicating himself, was taking them in circles. They knew that ultimately it would be nearly impossible to prosecute him if they couldn't find Rachanda's body.
Well, you know, someday you might be a badass lineman too, and then you'd understand. But until then, you just, you know.
He probably.
You're never going to understand what it's like to be a lineman, okay? Until you are one.
Turner case, he probably learned a lot about not disclosing where a body is.
We knew all along what we were dealing with. This wasn't maybe this is our
you know,
guy. We knew that he was the guy. It was very clear from the beginning.
I mean, I'm not trying to fucking. I'm saying, dude, when you operate as stupid as you do,
prosecute without a body. So
yeah, he's like, oh yeah, that dude's a rat. That dude's a rat. I don't know about that.
Looked like that was our best prospect.
Maybe you are too, buddy.
Before he killed somebody else,
I kind of
and
feel
that
like
was our primary goal.
Maybe you were doing some telling on your end too, there, bud.
Which I feel we
did spend a lot of time though.
Because those two young girls out of Newport.
You're just too much of a fucking loser for me to believe that you didn't tell on somebody. I'm just going to be honest here. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Not buying it, Jay.
Some of the ODOT employees.
You're way too much of a loser to have not told. I realize you're lying. But, you know. He was born with a styrofoam fucking brain.
Yeah, I picked him up, trying to blend it on me. It was like trying to build his alibi ahead of time.
First of all,
when we started this, I thought for sure there's no way it couldn't be two people. But I do think he's a big guy. He's done it before. You know, he may have even told them, you know, you need to squeeze into the back of the van. And once you shove one of them in and grab the other and slam the door.
trapped.
Yeah.
Rashonda
Bye-bye,
and Keith
love
were the
you.
only people that
With the
Johnny
mother
had been around
babies.
and disappeared.
You badass lineman.
They were working on Highway 20 a lot
That was a
back
lineman.
then.
Too many people disappear in that
Fucking
area.
lineman.
Just too much of a coincidence.
We know that John Aykroyd was working in Newport when those girls disappeared.
He
His
comes
son's
in
like, yeah, my
way
dad's
late
a
at night.
lineman.
He's got blood all over his hands.
I don't know
Was it
why I
right
always
picking
tell
for
everybody he's
someone
a
who
lineman.
is
Dad, why do you
a
tell
predator
everybody you're a
to be
lineman?
in an area where there's a bunch of sheep?
Yeah, I have a feeling the day has already come where his daughter said, Dad, you're a fucking loser. Quit calling me.
Only after by
You're an embarrassment.
farms and truck stops, fireworks stands.
He's telling his daughter, honey, look at this picture of me. Aren't I handsome? Don't talk to your dad like that. I'm a fucking lineman. Oh, this makeup has 24 karat
In
gold in it.
1992, investigators were closing in on John Aykroyd, working the cases of both Kay Turner, who had vanished while running in 1978, and Rachanda Pickle,
He's a
Aykroyd's 13-year-old
fucking lineman.
in 1990.
Oh, your mom sold you years ago. It's a done deal. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those weren't the only
Yep.
that cast suspicion.
Too bad she taught me how to use a gun, huh? It's too bad. That's gonna put a kibosh on things now, isn't it?
And I'll say that till the day I die.
It's definitely a suicide mission for you, honey. I do provide free demonstrations, though.
What you talking about?
Talking about some other people that are dead up in
Oh,
that
yeah.
area.
I'm so
Oh, now
cute.
you're trying to lay some others on me.
Yeah, I'm not Aussie, dude. When
From the
you
late
come
70s
for me,
to the early
buckaroo,
90s, Highway 20 between Bend
you're gonna
and
be
Newport
just,
was
you're
John
gonna get
Aykroyd's
death.
domain.
Is
He
that
roamed
there
between behind the
darn
wheel of
dead
state
ringer
highway
for
rigs
dead?
in his own truck, usually alone.
He's a
phantom,
fucking
caught, if at all, as a
lineman,
fleeting
doing what
blur in the peripheral
linemen
vision of passing
do.
motorists.
Fuck
Aykroyd could account for some
around
of
and
his
fuck
time.
with the
He
real
repaired
live
equipment,
lineman.
helped stranded drivers, and cleared wrecks. He
Talking about
hunted,
Jay, dude? He's a
fished,
fucking
and visited
lineman.
friends.
What do you
But he
mean?
spent long stretches of time
Jay's
alone.
a fucking
And what he
lineman.
was
I want
doing
to fuck
then
with Jay.
remains
He's a
the
lineman.
subject of much speculation.
I mean,
I was convinced
for
early on
Vista.
that we were dealing with a serial killer.
Vista.
And if we really know the truth,
He goes to work
I
whenever
believe
he
he's
wants.
probably
It's on his
taken
own
more people
sketch,
in Oregon than probably anybody
which means
else.
he's never been to work.
Responsible for a lot more. In my career, I've dealt with serial killers before.
Jay's a fucking lineman.
And I feel John
He's a
fits in that
lineman
category.
and a goddamn junkie, okay?
Was
Fucking
Aykroyd a serial
A.
killer? Well, I mean, he was.
You talking about that junkie? You mean that handsome junkie? Ooh.
Separated by time and space. 12 years between Kate and Rashonda.
He's heavy into the snuff film industry.
Who knows? There could have been,
Yeah, speaking of snuff films, when you come for me, that's what I plan on turning you into.
These are just
It's going to be the final scene of my documentary until the next guy comes over. I've been filming a documentary on your life. And it's real cute. You look like a badass for sure, yeah. I mean, you got the makings of a badass. Totally. I've been recording it. Once you see it on camera, boy, I tell you what, you definitely have the makings of a real badass.
Their bodies had been found several months later in the woods off
Yep.
Highway 20
And
near
just a
Eddyville.
side note,
No
there's pretty
arrests
much nothing more disgraceful than a motherfucking bitch that tells on himself by being a fucking loudmouth little punk. That is the beauty of it.
But it would never been questioned.
Oh, yes.
John Arthur Aykroyd.
Dear Lord, I'd like to thank you for everybody's loud mouth.
They were
The
friends.
ability
They had
to
planned to go to a
still become a lineman if I want
go
to.
camping with Melissa's family. So they drove over
For starting
middle of the day,
college.
got to the beach in the afternoon, and had supper that
I
night.
just started college. I'm gonna be a lawyer.
Some grandparents woke up and the girls were gone.
We didn't hear anything
Yes.
for like a week.
Purdue has been recruiting
Dad came over and said they
me.
could bring my sister back because they supposedly supposed to have been hitchhiking back. Talked to the
Probably because I
police
know people
department
like
about
Jay.
it,
You know, they're
and
like, "Oh, we want
they
you to
pretty
come to
much
our
blew it off
school."
like, yeah, that's
If you're
just
friends
Sheila.
with
She's
people like
just
that,
out
badass.
running, doing what she wants to do, type of deal.
You know what? Jay's a fucking landman.
Them missing.
Plain and
After
simple.
they'd been gone for
Yeah.
a week to 10 days.
Straight
Not
up badass
much came
landman.
up until
Like, oh, you know, people
October
that fucking
of
kill
92
innocent people.
when
That's badass. Yeah, that's
some
pretty
hunters
fucking
were
cool.
hunting
That's
on
some
Highway
tough ass
20
shit. Right on.
and came across
Yeah, that is real
bodies of
scary. A bunch
two
of
deceased
fucking
people.
coward bitches.
And they were later identified
Yeah.
as Melissa and Sheila.
That's an interesting proposition. How did you figure you were going to do that with a bullet in your head? Just out of
Finding human
curiosity.
remains along Highway 20 was
How is that
nothing
part
new
going
over
to
the
fit
years.
into that?
In 1976,
Are you one of those magical beings that just keeps walking when you have a big fucking hole in your head, or what? I mean, like, I'm
the skull
confused.
of another unidentified woman was found near Snow
It
Creek.
seems like a weird plan to
Also
me.
in 1978, the
My
body
mom
of
sold me?
Elizabeth
Oh,
Whistler,
really?
a young woman who had
Well,
disappeared from Lebanon, was found in a shallow
I
grave.
guess
near
you
Greensboro,
lost out,
Illinois.
didn't you?
A year before that,
Sounds like a
personal
pretty
effects
devastating
belonging to two
loss
missing
there.
teenagers,
Devastating
Rodney
financial
Grissom and
loss.
Karen Lee, had
If
been
my
found
mom
off a
sold
logging
me to
road
you,
near
well,
Highway 20, about a
you're
half hour
fucked,
east of
huh?
Sweet Home.
You lost a lot of
Nothing
money,
beyond
sounds like to
circumstance ever linked
me.
Aykroyd to any of these
But that's
deaths.
cool.
But circumstance is enough for Karen's mother,
That's cool.
Violet, who was convinced he was her daughter's killer.
Funny how people that steal money like you always end up on the bad end of a business deal eventually.
Wisconsin, and she
Isn't that
said
funny?
to her, "Our
Isn't that
rights
funny?
here, I have to
It's
go."
odd, always
And the
happens.
next thing I know,
When you're a scumbag like that, you always
Christmas
end
and
up
they find
on
her
the
stuff.
bad end of a
And this is where
business
they found
deal and lose
first
it
set of
all.
We brought up
Then you're
cadaver
stuck trying to
dogs,
do it
and
again.
we worked this area for a
And
long time, just hoping we would find some human
you
remains.
keep trying to do it again and do it again, and pretty soon the whole entire world knows what the fuck you and anybody you know is doing because you got a loud mouth. You got a loud mouth. You like to pick on me. I say, well, just keep on picking, honey. You're making a good loud noise of yourself, and people will know. People will know why shit went down, why they fucking lost their freedom and went to prison because you had a big loud mouth and wouldn't shut up, which I'm thankful for.
Near there, he worked in those.
I couldn't be more
areas, so
proud
he
of your
knew
big mouth.
back roads. He knew, he worked for the highway department. I feel in here that that's what happened to her.
It's been a blessing. Big fat stupid shit starting mouth has been nothing but a blessing.
Karen's genes appeared to have been cut, echoing Marlene
And
Gabrielson's
boy, oh
rape,
boy,
which occurred around the same time.
you aren't
It's
just
impossible to
dumb.
know if the same clue would have
You're
turned up
dumb
in
with
Aykroyd's
the whole
stepdaughter's
world
killing,
knowing you're
since
dumb.
no trace of Rachanda was ever
Well, this
found.
shit has 24 karat gold in
Same
it,
year
and
that
it's
Sheila
so
and Melissa went
sparkly.
missing, Rachanda's cousin Jennifer
I almost
thought
sparkled
Aykroyd
my
would
whole
have
butt
taken
off
her
with
to
this
the
thing.
spot where he stashed her body.
I said, how do
John came up
you
every
kill
weekend.
people when you
I asked
have
him
a
if I could
bullet
get a
in
ride
your
from him
head?
to my friend's house.
That's what's always
And he said,
intrigued
yeah.
me.
We were going on Highway
How
20 for Sweet Home.
How do you do these
We passed
things
the
with
junction.
a bullet in your head? Like,
Usually, if he
that's
needs
pretty
anything,
fancy
he stops
moves.
there at the junction where he lives and picks up whatever he needs. He passed it. And he pulled off alongside the road, and he turns to me, and he looks at me, and he says,
Yeah, you're a real
you
tough
could kill
guy, aren't
somebody
you?
and hide a
Till
body
you
here,
got
and
a
you
bullet in your hair. Head.
not to get out of the truck. And so he's like, I gotta pee. Do you need to go? I was like, no, I'm good. He got out of the truck, and he was
Put
gone
you
for
on your
about
fucking
15 minutes,
knees, huh,
10,
Hunter?
15 minutes. I said, that's an awful long time to go pee.
Looking back on that now, what do you think that was about?
Oh, God. I think he was trying to make sure that he disposed of the body. I think that he wanted to make sure nobody found it at that point. And it freaked me out because I was 16 years old, Why would an adult tell a 16-year-old that? And that was like 2 years after my cousin came up missing.
To some of his co-workers at Santiam Junction, it seemed obvious that Aykroyd was responsible
These
for
people
his
are
stepdaughter's
magic.
disappearance.
They
With the
apparently
continuing
know how to
investigation becoming a distraction, and
supposedly
some workers not feeling safe around him,
get people,
the highway department eventually transferred Aykroyd
even when
to
they
a
have
shop
a
in
bullet
Sweet
in their
Home,
head.
where his reputation
That's
preceded him.
that's what I find so amazing.
My first time that I went to Santiam Junction was somewhere around 1979, winter of 79 or 80. This guy came out from behind a truck and said, "Hey, I'm John." Reached out. When he touched my hand, I literally
So
froze up
when
and
you
thought
find
to
yourself
myself,
in life, out
"Oh my
in
God,
the
I
middle of
just
the
met
night
the
in the
devil."
cold, standing in front of
After
some woman's
Chandler
house,
disappeared,
calling
and
her
there'd
a
been
rat,
number of investigations,
just know,
the
like,
district
you're
manager came to me and said,
kind of
"We're
a
going
worthless
to
individual
reassign John
who
Aykroyd to
probably
your shop."
doesn't need to be
And I said,
alive.
"No, I don't need him at my shop." And they
And
said, "You don't understand.
I feel sorry
You
for
don't
him.
have a choice. And he's not going to be working out of your shop. He's just going to be parking his truck there morning and night. And he's going to be driving wherever every day." At least at Santiam Junction, he had oversight. He did not have oversight once they moved him to District 4. He comes here and gets in a truck.
Listen, I'm a fucking
None
lineman.
of us really know where he is or where he's going.
Fuck around.
What are you guys thinking?
Fuck around and get caught up with
And
a
I think-
lineman.
I'm sure there's more than, in hindsight, they realized they probably made a large error.
I mean, a lineman's one thing, but when you're a GMC driving lineman, a pile driving lineman,
By the time
he
Aykroyd was
loved him
transferred
some
from
fucking
Santiam
Longhorn
Junction, he and Linda had split
till
up.
they fucking kicked
He
his
moved into
ass,
his
and now he
mother's
can't go
Sweet
back
Home,
there anymore.
near the shop where he was now based.
He has to order food in another
he soon
name.
began spending evenings in nearby Lebanon at a Sherry's restaurant.
Oh, wait a minute.
24-hour
He probably never
gathering
ordered
spot
it
for
in his own
locals.
name anyway, so
The young people from Sweet Home, the
he
teenagers
said,
from
"I'm
Sweet Home
nothing
in
but a
Lebanon would hang
lineman,
out at the Sherry's.
baby."
Melissa and Sheila started hanging out with that group 2 to 3 months before we
Girl,
start
I'll
talking
spoil
to
you.
this
I'm a
one
fucking
couple who
lineman.
actually remembered things
I'll
very,
spoil the
very
hell
well
out of
the
you.
amount
I'm
of
a
time that went
lineman. Are
by.
you
They
kidding
started
me?
talking about this
I'll
guy
treat you like a
John
princess.
that worked for
Like a
Otis
lineman's
that
princess.
also kind of hung around on the fringes of
Turn
this
you into
group,
a
and
fucking
that he was really,
lineman's
really
princess.
interested in Melissa and
Girlfriend.
Sheila. Whenever they would arrive,
With a
he would make a
paycheck like
beeline
mine,
for
I'm
them
a
and interact
fucking
with them.
lineman.
He was here a lot.
Lineman.
He used to give a bunch of
Get over
girls
here to
rides, the
daddy.
perv. That's what we called him. Short
Suck
for
on this
pervert.
line.
That was his CB handle. And then we called him the perv because it just
I'm a
fit in
lineman
By all
by
accounts,
day.
Sheila and Melissa were there most nights.
And a
Aykroyd was
bad
there most
ass
The girls start talking about
motherfucker.
taking this vacation to the coast, and all
for
of a sudden,
like,
the week before they're going to go,
wait a minute, I know
John
that.
Aykroyd is telling everybody that he's got a house in Newport, and he's
All you're
having
ever
a
gonna
party
be
the same
is a
weekend
lineman.
that these girls are going to be camping with their parents. Nobody else showed an interest in it, but the girls did say
Fuck
that they were going to
around,
be at the beach
get caught
and that they
up
were going to go.
with
I think it
another
was
fucking lineman,
purely
baby.
a means to meet up with the girls that weekend. That plan got
That's
foiled
easy for you
because
to
the
say.
girls
You're not
didn't
a
end up
fucking
going over on
lineman.
Saturday. They ended up going over on Sunday.
Fuck around and get caught up with a lineman. A fucking lineman.
This must have been.
He's a badass.
It says she was.
Oh yeah. He says that word. That's a weird word, I know, huh? He's straight out of Joyce.
Happy Mother's Day. I couldn't find a card
Straight out
to
of
say what I
Joyce.
really wanted to say, and that's I love you. Hope you have a nice
Rat. Yeah.
1970.
Yep, you are a dead ringer for a rat, by golly. You sure are, honey.
A massive coincidence.
You're doing a mighty fine job of telling on yourself and probably everybody around you, too. You little smarty. You're so smart.
Why?
You know, I'm just so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You're so smart.
I guess he didn't need a reason. I don't know.
The GMC's coming right along. you talking about? I'm a fucking lineman.
The FBI, who did a background on him, they said he's one of these opportunity abductors, and he will kill as often as he gets an opportunity to do so.
We had that written up on the board, opportunistic. And like with Rashonda and her brother go off to spend the summer with her dad, but Rashonda comes back alone. So for the first time, the brother
lineman.
is in the picture. Within 2
You
days,
must be a lineman too.
John Aykroyd makes up an excuse to be home alone with her during the day.
He's bulletproof. Apparently, he's bulletproof. So that's pretty neat. That's his superpower. His superpower is being bulletproof.
The opportunities there.
That's cool.
And he takes
you smart.
So how
you
many
very
really
smart.
We really don't know.
You a smart badass. Are you a lineman too? Don't tell me. Let me guess. You're a lineman.
Melissa and Sheila decided they wanted to head back home. Late at night, they called friends from a payphone asking for a ride. When no one could come get them, they said
I'm
they'd
excited to
hitchhike back
see how
instead.
you do all this stuff with a bullet
It
in
was
your
the
head.
last
That'll be
time
pretty
anyone
fun.
ever heard from them.
It'll give me the opportunity to make a fucking viral video out of you, and I will just be in. I will be on cloud 9 with that one. Instant millionaire had to kill this guy live on YouTube.
Was terrified of the dark. What we
Well, I'll tell you how I made my fortune. Killing a man live on YouTube.
hitchhiking.
Graveyard dead, matter of fact.
Aykroyd would have left the
Graveyard dead.
yard about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Good old fashioned down home dead.
To Newport. At some point, someone saw an ODOT truck picking up 2 girls at the junction of Highway 20 and the Toledo East Junction. What we do surmise is that
he's like,
at some point, he has girls in the ODOT truck, and he's traveling east towards Sweet Home. ODOT is doing a lot of work on Highway 20.
Froggy.
Both on Highway 20.
Froggy.
Nashville Road. They would notice if he had 2
I'm tired of waiting, man. I gotta get this video out of the way. I need some money.
Found on Case Creek Road
Get over here.
is the last place
Let's do this, motherfucker.
Highway 20 before you would meet where they were working on the road.
And
so
that's when I stopped locking my door. I thought I'm gonna get them in here one way or the other. And I'm going with kill him. Graveyard dead.
There are no homes there for quite a way.
Yay! Look at how much money I made. It ended in tragedy.
In the weeks after
I
their
had to take
disappearance,
the life of this
not many
here
people
man.
outside their immediate
Well, I don't
family
know,
showed much
actually.
concern for Sheila and
Judging
Melissa.
by the size of his wiener,
Police
I
assembled
think he
no
might
search
still be a
parties.
boy,
The
honey.
media provided little coverage. In their hard-scrabbled world, the young women had
Killed in graveyard dead, pulled his pants down, shoved a big fat fucking dildo up there and called the coroner.
confronted with marginalized women. A predator like Aykroyd.
I said, I don't know. He's some kind of a weirdo. He came in my house, he grabbed that dildo, and he shoved it in his ass, and then I had to shoot him. And I was just like so confused
telling me how they
as to
go
why
out,
an individual would do such a thing.
looking for women and doing cat calls at him and everything.
Dumber and
else.
dumber and
I
dumber every
asked
day,
him a little
dumber.
bit about whether he thought he could do something so evil. He wouldn't answer that.
Oh
he said, "So
man,
what
when
if
you
he
pick
did?"
on little animals
He said,
and you pick on women,
caused all the
honey,
wars in the
here's a
world.
newsflash:
Women
you're a
have caused all the
pussy.
problems in the world.
And unfortunately for you, I'm not a pussy. So you're in for a hell of a deal there, bud. Before you head on over, you're gonna want to say thorough goodbyes to your family and friends. Okay? If you ain't coming home, honey, you ain't coming home. Maybe in a casket.
And I know that sounds really bad.
I said, have you ever met people that just like can survive bullets
None of us have ever talked to the
in the
family.
head?
It ceased to exist, and we just quit talking.
There's a threshold
Now,
at my
I think
doorstep there. See that there, that threshold? I actually legally don't have to mind that, but that's my. It's kind of my gauge. Don't fall down when you get in here. It's a bit like an episode of Wipeout. Ever changing. But I do got a few booby traps up my sleeve. I'm gonna start carrying my super soaker full of chloroform.
My girls, would I want to?
I got a super soaker full of chloroform. If you guys think I'm kidding, come over and check it out.
When I asked Ron,
I've had it under my sink for a long time.
really, who's looking out?
I got a
right now,
super soaker
for the Melissa and
filled
Sheila,
with
really,
chloroform.
you, basically.
Yeah, that's a good cheap weapon there.
No one else is around. I don't
Chloroform,
think.
that shit's
Since I was
just
16 years old, I
magical.
pretty much made my life completely.
You know, it's so cheap. It's so
evolved
cheap.
around
It's just like a trip to the dollar store, and I'm gonna knock you out.
I went up to where she was found. Probably.
I don't know. There's so many fun,
I've laid down
fun-loving options
I held a big
for
deal
people that are
of
really badass linemen. So I'm calling the Linemen's Union. You're a lineman. She's a lineman too. She was born with the tool belt on. She's a badass lineman. Listen, she's a serial killer, you know? You gotta look out for her. She's a straight up badass. So were all her friends. They're very, very badass. I can't tell you how many times they've picked on my little dog after picking their butthole. Oh, yeah. Just straight up badasses. You know, there's no little 3-pound dog that they can't beat in arm wrestling, okay?
Aykroyd's odd schedule and work arrangement at the Sweet
And
Home
I'm
maintenance yard
serious.
meant he rarely interacted
I'll
with his
whoop
coworkers
that
there.
dog's ass.
But on one night, when the shop
The
would
dog
normally
thinks
have
he's a
been empty,
badass?
he surprised 2 workers who were there
Oh,
on a
yeah?
special shift. At the
Now,
time,
I'll take that
the encounter
3-pound
struck the
dog
men
and
as
I'll show
strange,
him who
but it would acquire a more
he's
sinister
fucking
meaning
with.
later on.
It was probably around 9:30. And I
Oh
heard
my
the door
God,
open,
look at the ass on the
who was
dog.
that, you know?
Fucking
Aykroyd
amazing.
and parked over next to
Beautiful.
our office in the
Where
bay.
in the
He
hell
started
did you
walking
get
over,
that little
going through
thing?
the area, and
Look
we
at
noticed
that
he had blood
sweet
all over
little
his hands
thing,
and arms.
Jim.
And I go, what the heck happened
Where
to
the
you?
hell did you
And
find
he
that
goes,
pretty little
oh, I
thing?
ran into a deer and I just had to get him out.
Gorgeous
Most of the
fucking
time,
dog
if
you
you
got
just
there.
throw it
God,
off
the
the road
dog's
into the
fucking
ditch, it's
gorgeous.
gone. Why would you get a deer in the middle of the night?
Pretty little fucking thing. Where the hell you find one that pretty? I ain't never seen an ass like that on a dog. Damn, Jim.
And they took it.
Fucking dog's beautiful.
No. That don't sound like something I
Primed and ready for the fucking back it up on the daddy. Let me show you what she does. Beep, beep, beep. Back it up on the daddy now.
He was all
Pretty
bloody
little
and
motherfucker.
going, are you okay? And he said, oh, I butchered a deer for somebody.
Sure are a pretty
That was
little
kinda that.
fucking thing.
Nothing of it. Somewhere down the line, they started talking.
Why don't you go ahead and
about
back that
these
thing up
girls
here on the
being
daddy?
missing.
And that's kind of when we put 2 and 2 together. Like, wait a minute, those girls disappeared about that
Let
time.
daddy have a sniff on that one there.
Both Marvin and Rick came to me and they were just totally
You know,
freaked out.
daddy
What
got a
if
dog poop fetish.
He murdered those girls and that wasn't really deer blood. He had been in Newport. He
You know,
had been working over
Some
there.
people do that. They
And
like
then he's all
dog poop.
bloody.
Dog poop.
He'd probably never leave my mind. Just that part of it.
However,
Nobody ever asked us.
we're gonna have to put the kibosh on that one. Yeah, they ran into the wrong motherfucker this time.
Aykroyd's name had come up when Sheila and
I'm
Melissa
just not
disappeared.
your average, okay?
One officer had even sketched out his connections
I'm a trained
to the girls,
lineman.
to who they each knew and where they all lived. But he was being more thoroughly investigated for other crimes.
Good standing down at the
Task
Union.
force was closing in, and Aykroyd knew it.
I love me some Longhorn.
Murdering Turner, saying only he visited a friend at Camp Sherman the morning
Listen, I'm a
Turner
fucking
disappeared.
lineman.
Well, they're talking to the guy that
Jim?
admits that he killed her.
What's his name?
Damn!
Roger.
Where did you find that pretty little dog?
Not really. He's friends of mine, but I
didn't have nothing to do with it.
Hell of an
Like, that
ass
guy
on her,
admitted
huh?
He killed her, bragging about it.
She's a pretty little fucking
There's a
thing.
grand jury went on Monday and Tuesday.
You mind if I lick that ass on her real quick there, Jim?
But if somebody admits that they
Take a
killed
taste?
somebody, that should be enough evidence right there.
Oh, she's
Yeah,
a
the time he
beauty.
killed Sheila and Melissa, he knew that
Where'd
was
you
gonna
find
happen.
her? She's
So
gorgeous. She's
they were
gorgeous.
actively working.
Gorgeous fucking dog.
Kay Turner and Rashonda at that time.
Damn,
Moving
Jim. You a
property out of
lucky
the
man.
storage unit, around that time.
You a
So,
lucky
yeah,
man.
He knew that he was
That
on
is
short
one
time.
hell of an ass on that dog. Jesus, Jim. Where in the hell did you find a dog that beautiful? She is fucking gorgeous. She is gorgeous. That is one hell of a dog.
When John
See the
Ackroyd
ass
was a
on
young
her?
man, his family
Damn,
placed
Jim,
an
you're
ad
a
in
lucky
local
man.
newspaper for some Labrador puppies
You
they
are
had
a
for
lucky
sale.
man.
In a police interview years later, an
Boy,
acquaintance
I
who
tell
showed
you.
up to look at them described a horrifying
I
scene.
tell you.
He said he walked
Where's
in
that?
to
Where's the
find puppy
mama that
body
she
parts
came
scattered
out of?
across the yard.
She
Ackroyd
busy
had hacked the
today?
entire litter to death with a machete, saying, "These are my dogs, and nobody's going to get them."
Damn, look at that
The
dog.
only thing between more
That
innocent
is
people
one
being
hell of a beautiful dog.
and him
Damn
running
it,
free.
Jim. You lucky man.
Who knows what he would have gotten away with? How many other people would
She
have
is
died?
gall darn gorgeous.
That's where I have issues about.
Plain and simple.
Not knowing. He went to the grave of the
Now
last.
that's some good old fashioned down home fucking doggy ass. I'm gonna fucking eat me some of that tonight. Ooh, way, Jim. I'm staying the night.
And hopefully he's enjoying his time in hell.
It is a beautiful little unit you got there. She is a gorgeous little thing. Pretty little gall darn thing, ain't she? She's something else, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. She's just been a hell of a dog. She's got one hell of an ass on her. That dog's got one hell of an ass on her. Real pretty little thing. Real pretty. Real pretty. Just a gall darn gorgeous little thing.
By June
Banging little ass
1992,
on her.
the task
Banging.
force investigating John Ackroyd had pivoted from the case of Ackroyd's missing
I gotta settle down now.
13-year-old
I
Regina
can't
Fickle
keep talking
to the
about it right now.
1978
You
murder
got
of
company
Kay
coming
Turner,
over, and
for which he had long been the prime suspect.
let me show
Two
you real
young
quick
women
though.
who were
Let
recent
me show you what she does.
acquaintances of Ackroyd's, Melissa Sanders and
Pretty
Sheila
little gall darn
Sorensen,
thing. Come
had
over here.
also recently
Flip it around there,
disappeared.
flip it around, and now back it up on the daddy. Right there, right there. Perfect. You see that? You see that? You see how she does that? Pretty little fucking thing. She's everything a man could dream of. Seriously. She's a beautiful little fucking thing. Just beautiful. Fucking gorgeous. Most beautiful dog I've ever seen. Oh, they got it. Oh, did I get You sure are a pretty little fucking thing. Where'd you get that fucking dog, Jim?
Started. This is the first step. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. It's just an
She's
accumulation
doggone
at
beautiful.
this point of a lot of hard detective work that's been done by a lot of different agencies.
Where do you think a man get his hands on something like that?
Are charged with kidnapping, raping, and killing Kay Turner.
That June 12th, John Ackroyd was finally arrested, along with his
Dog
friend
got an
Beck
ass for days.
Beck had been with Ackroyd the day Kay Turner disappeared, but was largely
Oh yeah,
ignored
she's my
in the
pride and
original
joy.
Investigation. More than
My
a decade
pride
had
and
passed
joy.
since Kay's killing, and there wasn't much new physical evidence to uncover.
I don't
But
know
in
what I'd
Beck,
do with
the
that.
task force saw a potential
Flip her
suspect.
around. Why don't you go ahead and flip
They took a
around there?
fresh look at
Pretty
him
little goddamn thing.
and
Flip
found a
around.
gold
Flip it
mine of
around.
new information.
Look at
Back
that.
initially,
Look at that, Jim. Look at it.
He was a friend of John's.
Flip her
They
around
guys
there.
Spent a lot
Let
of
me
time
take.
together.
Yep.
We didn't think
That's what I'm talking about right there. That pretty little fucking.
You know, we thought
It's a
Ackroyd
banging
killed her
little
maybe on the way down
motherfucking
with
ass.
Beck's house, and they went out and they established this.
With a dog like that, Jim, you can get anything you want in this world.
And began hearing
Anything.
variations of the same story. that
She's
Beck had
fucking
spoken many
gorgeous.
times over the years about taking part
I mean,
in
I'm just gonna
Kay's
go
murder.
ahead and say I'm gonna go so
Sometimes
far as
even
to say
bragging
that's
They
gorgeous.
interviewed his sister. She had picked up.
Let's
Beck
just say I
once
was
or
in the
twice
market for
when he
something
got
like
drunk
that.
in
Now
the
where
car and couldn't drive home.
you think that run a
Picked
guy,
him up
huh?
and
What do
he
you?
was crying.
How much is bad? I mean, shit.
And you knew Roger, right? He was basically your brother-in-law,
Give him a
right?
left nut for a dog like that.
Bragging about it all the time. And he
Fucking
threatened
dog is
Pam.
beautiful.
Like, well, why would he threaten Pam and threaten
Gorgeous.
his kid, saying, I'll just get you just like I did that girl up there and scatter you all over the country.
There was a guy there, I don't know if it was Pam's brother or brother-in-law, something. He had some statements that Beck made. They were leaving. He said, we got to go up on the mountain and see John get our story straight.
Pam was Beck's ex-wife, Pam Ramirez.
Dog's got a
She had
fucking
originally
banging
provided an
little
alibi
ass.
For both Beck and Aykroyd for the morning
banging.
he was killed, but had divorced him and moved to
Doggone.
California.
I'll go so far as to say gorgeous.
It became obvious we needed
Fucking piece
the
of shit.
interview.
Gorgeous.
Beck's
Hey, well,
ex-wife.
then flip
So
her around there
we
and see if.
planned a meeting to California.
Yeah.
The famous quote
Nice.
was like, I lied like hell.
Real
Beck
nice.
returned that day that she
She's
disappeared.
real nice, Jim. Where the hell did you find her? A beautiful fucking dog. That dog is fucking gorgeous.
It became very clear that
With a dog like that, you pretty much get anything you want in this world, eh?
and that she actually knew that he wasn't part of it and covered it up. But she was very afraid of him, and for good reason.
She was afraid to until after they got a divorce. And then she decided to tell the truth.
Oh, yeah. Watch this. She's got a backup camera on her. Okay, pretty little thing, come here. Come here to Daddy. I'm going to show him what you got. Show him what you got. Back it on up to Daddy. I'm going to show him that backup camera got you the other day. Back that pretty little ass up here right now. Bring me that little ass, you pretty little thing. You little motherfucker. You're a pretty little motherfucker, ain't you? And I'm going to go so far as to say you're gall darn gorgeous. With an ass like that, Jim, that dog, where did you get her? She has got an ass on her that just won't quit. Damn, Jim, you're a lucky man.
With no way to know exactly what had happened the morning of Kay's murder, investigators came up with
Find
a
that
novel
little
idea.
thing.
They decided to recreate and
Gorgeous.
videotape different
Fucking
scenarios
dog is
based on the little information they did have.
gorgeous.
They asked deputies and detectives to play Kay, Aykroyd,
Fucking ass on that thing.
found a truck like the one Aykroyd drove in
Beautiful.
1978, and
Fucking
met at
dog's
Camp Sherman
gorgeous.
in the winter of 1992.
Fucking dog is beautiful.
They couldn't use the video as
Beautiful.
evidence, but the exercise helped investigators test theories on how Kay's abduction might have happened.
Because you know she was a pretty little gall darn. A pretty little gall darn thing.
Height and build and looked a lot like what Kay looked like at the time.
That's my girl.
They just had
That's
me
my
jogging
girl.
down the road.
I wouldn't trade her for the world.
And they
Beautiful. Fucking
Aykroyd's
beautiful.
vehicle approached me.
Gorgeous.
Only
She's
difference
fucking
is I
gorgeous,
knew
man.
what was coming and she didn't.
Dog. Are you kidding me? This
It was
dog?
basically 2 days
I'll sell my left nut for this
repeating
motherfucker.
a scenario over and over.
I like to see you find a dog this beautiful. That dog is gall darn gorgeous. I'm gonna go so far as to say that dog is fucking gorgeous.
He's a bear of a man.
Put the ass on that thing.
He said to me, let's film this one more time, and this time I want Kay to win. And
Hi.
in the last scenario, I was able to take the gun.
How do dead guys make snuff films? I'm wondering. Like, dead guys could actually kidnap people? That's weird. Are they like zombies, like magic zombies, or what? Because that's like pretty cool. Like, I mean, that's what you should be recording. Them doing things with bullets in their heads. I mean, that's what's amazing about this whole scenario. It's so crazy. Is that these people, they know how to do these things. Dead. I'm like, what?
Little more than what was found in 1979. A
few bones.
I said, well, hon,
Kay's clothes.
I learned a long time ago
She wound and watched
that the quickest way, sweetheart, the quickest way to prevent
establishing that she had died the same morning
a situation that could be potentially retarded is just shoot him in the head. I mean, just don't waste any time. Don't
the Timex guy.
That's what I was taught. I was taught well, you're just supposed to shoot him in the head and then call the coroner. Don't try to do any CPR because there's a big hole in their head. Plus you don't want to get whatever they got. I think a lot of these guys are running around. Well, they're junkies, honey. The lifespan and life expectancy of a fentanyl junkie, unfortunately. And I hate the word junkie, okay? I'm serious. I feel bad for saying it, kind of. But the problem for me is that in the process of knowing so many outrageous fucking scumbags, is that, my standards lower sometimes a bit on what is okay and what is not. Because literally, seriously, I've never, ever... Listen, hold on. I've never, ever shot anything in my veins. That is on everything. Blood, body, skin, my life. I never have. In my whole life. So, because I was just kind of well, I mean, I'm already getting high. And the whole Narcan thing and everything, I'm like, oh, shit. Although somebody did, oh yeah, that's right. Somebody did. They're like, here, they left me this hit of whatever. And it's just been sitting there for 2 days. I'm just gonna throw it away because it's not even my.
And they were happy to get something to work on.
I don't know. I'm so glad. I feel like you like my shirt?
Cut off of her rather than
I feel like
ripped up by a coyote.
God likes me because
clothing bore a striking similarity to
I cannot stand an opiate high.
Disappearance.
I mean, I hate it. It's like the grossest feeling to me in the world. Having an opiate high, so gross, dude. Like, it makes me sick right away. And I don't know, that could be because I've actually done quite a bit of opiates in my life. I have. I've done plenty of opiate drugs in my life. I've never been dope sick, but I've definitely done plenty of opiates. And it's weird because I think my addiction styles or whatever, or I mean, like, crack doesn't fuck me up.
These are wounds, and that was
it used to, I mean, crack did to me something that I'll never forgive myself for allowing to happen. And that was hurting my daughter. Well, I didn't hurt my daughter. I neglected my daughter. I couldn't get off of crack. I literally, I couldn't. It was like, I mean, it was the most horrific thing ever. And then for years, I went over to Libby and I lived over there for 10 years or whatever. And I wouldn't even go to Spokane. I was scared too. The first time I came over here to visit my daughter, I came over here and we stayed at Motel 6 out here. And
become confused by police during his various interactions with them.
I was afraid to be here
a theory that it wasn't Kay
because
Turner, but a
I was
different
afraid I
runner
would
he
get
had
hooked on
encountered
crack
that
again.
morning.
God, I got a lot
And
of
then he had
bruises on my
conflated the
legs.
two as a result of the extensive news coverage that had
Um,
followed Kay's
A
disappearance.
really bad one on my knee.
two runners. So there was some
I don't remember getting
confusion.
these bruises.
That was basically his thing.
Oh, see, I have a scratch on my head. I don't.
That's when I was avidly running.
Where did that come from?
And I just got up whenever I got up and
But
put my clothes on and
Jason's a
my
lineman.
run.
Okay,
And
it's a fucking
that
lineman.
afternoon, I had to go to the store for something. So I
He's
went
a
to the
fucking
store and
lineman.
I saw a search and rescue
Alright?
over. And so I
Plain
remember
and
asking, what's
simple.
going on? And he said, oh,
He's a GMC driving lineman. And if you don't understand that, his kids are like, Dad, why do you keep telling everybody you're a lineman? They're like, my dad is like creepy.
when I had to go
My dad's really creepy. Like, he makes me stare at
say,
pictures
yes,
of
I was
him
the
and
other
tell him that
person,
he's handsome and
gives a
stuff.
lot
I'm
of,
like, my
you
dad's
know,
kind
you
of
need to
ugly and
describe
he's
her.
weird and he's not alignment.
If Morris saw Kay or Aykroyd on her run that
My dad's a
Christmas
creep,
morning,
dude.
neither registered with
And
her
our
as
last name's
anything
Weekly. Like,
unusual,
that sucks,
and there's no
dude.
way of knowing if Aykroyd saw her. But a few months earlier, in
Poor
August,
Jason.
Morris experienced a frightening encounter
I mean,
with a man
I
on a
actually
different
care
Camp
about
Sherman road.
Jason. I really do.
I was
I care
working as
about
a
Jason a
waitress
lot.
at Blackbutte Lodge for
I
that
care
summer,
about all of these
and we
people.
often ride our
That's
bikes.
what's so
There were several
crazy.
of us that lived in the Camp Sherman area.
I care
So I
about
was
these
riding
people.
back by myself, and I was off the
Is
highway.
that
So I was on the
insane?
road to Camp.
Isn't that crazy? I care about these people. Isn't that weird? All individually in their own little ways. Like, I mean, I know every one of them in their own little ways. And like, I mean, like Morgan knows I fucking care about him, you know? Like, he knows I'm not fake. All these people know I'm not fake. It's Kamala and fake don't really go in the same sentence. I mean, I'm like proud of stupid shit that I do. Well, like these people are too. Listen, the body shop. Idaho body shop. She's like, well, he's in Idaho tied down. And I'm like, okay, whatever. What was that even supposed to mean? And then she's like, well, and so me and Colleen went to go see her son that she hasn't seen in 10 years. This is coinciding with, what this is coinciding with is, oh, I'm dead. Dad. She said, Fred? And I said, I feel like you're inviting death into your life. I mean, you might not want to do that. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you should stop inviting death into your life because, do you think it'll be a bummer, like, when you're dying because you invited so much death into your life? Will that be like a bummer to you? Will that like bum you out? Like, I don't want to see you go through that. I don't want to see you go through that. I care about you. So yeah, there I was, practicing to be a lineman. Listen, I'm a fucking lineman. Period. Don't you talk to me like that. I'm a fucking lineman. I'm a fucking lineman. Don't you disrespect me like that. I'm a fucking lineman. My name's Jason. I'm Jay, and I'm a lineman. Before I'm anything, I'm a lineman. He's like, oh, kids, just tell him your dad's a lineman. They're like, what? What's a lineman, Dad? And he's like, it's your dad. I'm a lineman. And they're like, huh? For Vista. Just tell him I'm a lineman for Vista. That'll shut him right up. Tell him I got a GMC in the goddamn driveway and I like Longhorn. And I'm handsome. And I'm a fucking lineman. I'm a fucking lineman. Lineman. Show your faces, incognito watchers. I'm a fucking lineman. But I'm a lineman. I'm a fucking lineman. They're like, rat. I'm like, oh, that's just Dad, Donald Duck, and Kermit over there. And the neighbor's dog, Bob Barker. I said, do you want me to sing you a song? She was born with a styrofoam brain. She was born with a styrofoam A fucking styrofoam brain. He's a fucking lemon. Okay? Fuck around. You see that line up there? You see that line? He came out of his mom's vagina driving on GMC. The windshield wipers is going crazy. But that's not as bad as Andrew, because Andrew, it turns out, I mean, this is crazy. You're not even going to believe this. I can hardly believe it myself. And I know them. And I mean, I know Andrew. I know he's a trucker. I know he's been a trucker from day one. Okay? He drives a commuter. He didn't put an ounce of blood, sweat, or tears into that commuter. But it's a commuter. Okay? This old commuter? Shut. I'm Andrew Petroni. What are you talking about? It's a fucking commuter. Her. Look at that thing, man. No blood, sweat, and tears from that son of a bitch on my part. But it's a commuter, nonetheless. And, well, it's a commuter. And I installed a computer in my commuter. Because I'm Petroni. I'm a trucker, dude. I'm a fucking trucker. You gotta realize, I'm a trucker. Okay? Remember? And, that's that old thing, that's just a commuter. I hang out with the cool kids, dog. What? Shoot. I'm a commuter. Okay, and I do not know how to operate a computer. But nonetheless, I'm a commuter. So anyhow, there I was. I said, shit, I wonder how much shop time it's gonna take. Shop time. Idaho shop time, like buddy shop. Flight schedule. So air traffic control. Anyway, so there I was, thinking about how much shop time it was going to take me to get this commuter's white walls painted with white out. And I put a lot of hard work into the job. You know what? I like this lipstick until it does this. And then it's kind of like, well, that's kind of lame. You just got like this weird ass lipstick. It's more like a lip liner. Yeah, that's a cool look, though. It's very 1990s. Listen, man, in the 90s, I like to get a little bit of brown, poopy looking lip liner. And then fill it in with something that's like, I don't know, lighter than my own skin. And that's hot. That's the kind of shit you do when you're trying to reel in a commuter. And I mean a real live commuter. You know how many hours it took me to get the white out on these white walls? Okay? I'm a fucking commuter, dog. Fuck around with a commuter and find out. Listen, I'm a commuter. I don't know how to operate a computer. I'm a commuter. I'm so proud of you. You know what? I look back on my Facebook like a year ago. Look at my lips. That's funny. That's hot. Okay, so, like, my name's Kendra, and, like, my boyfriend is, like, so wonderful. I give him enough money to hire an escort every day. And then I come home and suck the dog poop off of his dick. I can't find my dad. I don't know where he's at. Where's my dad? He lives with me. I'm a fucking landman. I'm a mental health counselor, okay? My dad lives with me. Yes, he's been missing for 7 months minimum, but he lives with me. Okay? He's just really shy. My dad's shy. Okay? He's shy. You know why he won't call you? Because he don't like you. I'm a mental health counselor. She's like, she's like, I gotta go on vacation. I'm done with this conversation. I'm going on vacation. How do you get to North Dakota? What happened to Grandpa's farm? Do you know about Grandpa's farm? I'm going on vacation! Stupid bitch. So then I'm like, oh, that's cool. I mean, I love having relatives that are dumb cunts. That's like my favorite thing, actually. Love you. You sure are a fucking dirty bitch. I'm like, she takes after her Aunt Bernie. Nick's like, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this? This fucking bitch. He's like tucking away money in the bank. Oh God. Oh God. Let's go on vacation, you handsome little boyfriend of mine. He's like, what in the mayonnaise? Oh man. You know what's so funny? Is it like Bernie's like Rusty was like, he's like, have you ever seen an ant through a microscope? That's when she knew. Camping is how I kill him now. I kill him with camping and macaroni salad. Oh, kids, do you want some of my macaroni salad? Oh, shit. I mean, seriously. I hope she's not trying to feed macaroni salad to the girls or fucking Vinny. They're like, Grandma, I'm not hungry, Grandma. I love you. They're like, hey, Dad, can you clear the yard of trees, please? Look, that tree's too close to the house, Dad. I think it might fall on us. Oh, shit. The kids, Vinny and Kelsey and Maisie, are like, Dad, I know we like live in a in a mountainous area and everything, and like trees are cool, but like, don't you kind of think that like that one tree right there in particular, I mean, like, could fall in the house? We should probably get it out of the yard, Dad. Do you mind? Dad, do you think we're gonna need it for fire this winter? I mean, you know, and I don't like the shade. Dad, can we please get rid of that tree? Oh gosh, do we have to go to Grandma's for dinner? I don't want to eat at Grandma's. Oh shit. So Dad, Brent is weird. He's really creepy. He's gross. He's not related to us, right? Kamala's my aunt, right? I love you, babies. Kamala's not my cousin, right? She's my auntie, right? Because I love her. Kelsey and Maisie and my little Vinny, I love you so much. And I can't wait to see you guys again. I'm sorry if you see this video, but I'm not going to say anything else. I don't need to. I know that I don't need to. And I'm sorry, girls and Vinny. That's got to be a tough one. But I love you, okay? And I'll always be here for you. And we have a lot of good times in our future coming up. And I just can't wait to hang out with you guys and love you. Okay. I love you too, Kimmy. Even though I'm a little bit irritated. Like, do you have any... I mean, when I say connections, I'm just kidding. Okay. Anyway, moving right along. So then I was like, Edith cometh here. She's like, what are blues? What are you talking about? I was like, you're fucking retarded, dude. Oh my god, because I was like, I met this fucking homeless dude, and like, the rule is if I say it's okay to talk to my mom knows it's okay. Okay, I fucking ain't. Nobody's ever burned her on this shit yet. Nope, I've never connected my mother with anybody that's ever gotten her in trouble, and almost anybody she's ever been connected with since I was like 12 years old came from me, lady. And that became more and more. I mean, like, I'm her business manager. I'm her fucking. I mean, fuck, dude. I'm like, oh, you're my friend. Well, basically, you're good to go. I mean, you're balling. Okay, yeah, I just like that. Anyway, but whatever. So I was like, yeah, this homeless dude that like was a punk. He's like, yeah, there's lots of good shit in there. Like, you're a fucking bitch, dude. But anyways, he needed to. He says, I don't know anybody here. He kept saying, I don't know anybody here. I'm like, dude, you're retarded, man. Obviously you do. I mean, like, why do you keep saying that? That's like Brian going, I can't light your house on fire. And I'm like, okay. Why? Because I have 4 fire extinguishers and 2 hoses? I mean, like, I already thought of that a long time ago. Like, I already, like, I got an above ground bomb shelter and shit. Literally, I have a super soaker, and I have for a long time. I can't believe I forgot to tell anybody this because it's kind of a cool thing to randomly have and then forget, about. I didn't forget about it. I didn't do any bragging about it yet. I'm gonna go ahead and brag. $2 at the dollar store, and you could go get enough chloroform to fill a super soaker. And you get one of them long range super soakers. You just like fill it with chloroform. It's an idea. But my favorite part about that is dragging them in. Oh, hit the like button. Okay. Like, comment, subscribe, share. I'm gonna get off my bow tie. Okay, stalkers, I'm gonna get off my ass and I'm gonna go to the college. And I'm gonna go pick up let's just get a test kit. Your dad. Your dad. Your dad's dead. Your mom's dead. Your kitty cat's dead. Your dog's dead. The baby's dead. A rabbit dead. I'm like, oh, I wonder what kind of fake ass bullshit that you. What did you decide? What was it you decided was valid somehow? Let me guess. Some cop. He's like, I'm gonna get this motherfucker. And I don't care if I have to use Kamala's name illegitimately to get him. And I'm like, right on. We didn't have quite enough to get him, so I just, fudged the record. Just fudged the record a little bit. I said that Kamala said, it'll help. It'll help in the case. She doesn't have to know. She'll never know. And everybody's looking for a person to blame when they have to take the consequences for their own actions, It's kind of like when somebody dies, we have to blame somebody, right? Because of course your charge isn't your kid. Oh, no. That would be far too stand up and real of you. And Pussy's like, you don't do that. You don't fucking take credit for your own retardation. That's just silly. However, Yeah, it's your kid. I don't care if a cop told you that I said something or whatever. If a cop told you I said something, motherfucker, and you didn't tell me that shit, you are the one that's a piece of shit, and I'll sock you up, bitch. Okay. Anywho, so moving right along. Do I have anything in my nose? No, because I don't snort things. Dude, last time I snorted cocaine, this fucking dude, I'm like, no, I want to cook mine. Just like, why does it matter if I snort it or cook it? He's like, no. If you do it with me, you have to snort it. And I swear, the next motherfucker that says that to me, I'm gonna straight up just sock him in the fucking face, dude. Because if I snorted his coke, that's what it would feel like I just did. And the motherfucker that makes my day ruined and gives me half a Jonesed out, whatever. I'm like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Because there's something about people. I'm like, what is this, 1984? Who snorts cocaine? Retards? Like, your fucking face is fucked off for the whole day and you're not even high? Like, you're dumb, dude. Who the fuck even does that shit? Retarded. Like, ow, ow, ow. Fuck. I know. And it doesn't even get you high. Like, you're all fucked off and you're not high. You're pissed off because your fucking nose hurts and you're halfway high, maybe. Not even. You don't even get high, dude. It's stupid. Who the fuck snorts cocaine? Alex P. Keaton or something? The fuck? I don't know. Like, do people really snort cocaine? Yeah, black dudes that sell crack do. You know, because they don't fucking hit the pipe. What, you too weak to hit a pipe, motherfucker? You can't handle hitting a pipe, bitch? Okay, well, fuck, whatever. Yeah, you're really cool, man. You're snorting cocaine right on. You're a fucking badass. Like, you don't have the willpower to just be able to smoke some cocaine? Like, sounds about right. Whatever. Peace out, bitches. Okay, okay, so, like, I have to... What? What, Jackson? What? Where did you get that beautiful dog? Jeez.